Chapter 174. The rule of the floating crest trial was that the longer one lasted, the better their score would be. The number of trials passed and their performance during the trial would affect their score. The final reward of the floating crest palace would be decided by the result. Apart from Lu Hu and the other two who had been eliminated in the first trial, the other 7 would each receive at least 30 trial points. But the disciples that had lasted until now had all had their fortunes and had performed well. Their performance on the way would also affect the results of the trial. Of course, the trial only indicated the basic trial points obtained from passing the trial. The rest of the results were hidden. Every trial taker had a floating crest token in their body. Even Zhao Feng couldn't sense the existence of the floating crest token, but every time he killed an enemy, his left eye would catch a faint ripple. He didn't know how many hidden trial points he had obtained, but thinking about how many bats he had killed, it shouldn't be a small amount. Zhao Feng slowly explored the next part of the path as the outline of a map in his mind became clearer and clearer. Although there were still some dark areas on the map, Zhao Feng had already analyzed the exit of the cave. It's been 3 days since the second trial started. Zhao Feng knew that he couldn't waste any more time, even though he knew that there were still some undiscovered fortunes in the cave. Zhao Feng's luck wasn't too good in the second trial. Apart from the bat nest, he didn't find any good fortunes anywhere else. On the other hand, Yang Gan and Bei Moi had apparently found an underground cave in a corner of the bat cave, and after a dangerous battle, they had obtained a few treasures. 4 hours later, a faint light appeared on the path in front of the cave. The ground under their feet started to change, turning into a green floor. The faint light in front of them became brighter. Zhao Feng and Quan Chen saw an exit. It was an open green door. Walking through the door, a voice sounded in their mind, "You have passed the second trial and received 50 trial points. After 5 days, the third trial will begin." Behind the door was a green palace. The heaven-earth yuan qi inside was several times denser than the sky-moon mountain. When Zhao Feng and Quan Chen entered, there were already 3 people in front of them. They were Yang Gan, Bei Moi and Quan Chen. The 3 of them were sitting cross-legged, digesting the fortuitous encounters from the previous 2 trials. Bei Moi's improvement was the fastest and his aura was close to the 3rd sky of the ascended realm. Although Yang Gan's fortune wasn't bad, it was harder to break through to the 7th sky of the ascended realm. At his current level, he had to put in a lot of effort for every step he took. But even then, Yang Gan's aura had reached the peak 5th sky of the ascended realm, and if everything went smoothly, he would have the chance to reach the 6th sky of the ascended realm. After another half a day, Lu Yu and Ran Xiaoyuan passed through the gate and entered the palace. According to Zhao Feng's understanding, the people who came later did not receive any extra trial points. The second stage. Yang Gan was the fastest, so he received 30 trial points. Bei Moi and Quan Chen received an extra 20 trial points. It had to be known that the reward for the first trial was only 30 trial points. Trial points were not easy to obtain, but they had a great use after the trial ended. Time passed slowly. Everyone made use of the remaining time to recover their energy and improve their strength. Zhao Feng, Bei Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan and Lin Fan had all improved a lot in the trial. This was especially so for Zhao Feng, who had broken through a level before even passing the trial. Apart from that, Ran Xiaoyuan and Lin Fan had both reached the point of breaking through to the next rank. Finally, at a certain moment, a voice sounded in everyone's mind, "The floating crest trial has entered the 3rd stage, Sky Boundary Island. There are many fortune in this stage and there's no time limit. The longer you survive, the better your results will be. At the same time, this will be the last stage of the trial." As soon as the voice finished, a door of green light opened on the other side of the palace. Zhao Feng instinctively opened his left eye and a weird expression appeared on his face as he looked at it. He had some understanding of arrays and through his left eye, he could barely tell what kind of array the door contained. "We might not be together in the last stage, so it's up to you now," Zhao Feng messaged Lin Fan. Lin Fan said gratefully, "It's all thanks to Brother Zhao that I was able to reach this step. I'll give it my all in the last stage." Zhao Feng nodded his head faintly as he felt that Lin Fan's aura had met the requirements to break through to the third sky of the Ascended Realm. If he could break through in the next stage, it wouldn't be hard for him to get a good result. Shwa! 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 After the 7 trial disciples entered the light door, their figures instantly disappeared. Sky Boundary Island, the last stage of the trial. Lin Fan's body landed in front of a valley and he felt the heaven-earth yuan qi around him was extremely pure and dense. What pure heaven-earth yuan qi? The effect of cultivating here is probably 10 times better than cultivating in the Sky Moon Mountain. Lin Fan was overjoyed. He then scanned his surroundings and didn't see anyone, not even Zhao Feng. Brother Zhao is too godly. Everyone has been sent to different corners of the Sky Boundary Island. Lin Fan couldn't help but take a deep breath and respect towards Brother Zhao grew. Before entering the third stage, Zhao Feng had already guessed what would happen. It turned out that when Zhao Feng entered the door of light, he had used his left eye to judge that the array was a complicated one. This array was related to the use of space, and without the corresponding array, the array masters wouldn't be able to set it up. Lin Fan raised his head and found the occasional flying beasts in the air, all of which were existences that surpassed peak-tier deadly beasts. Beasts could absorb heaven-earth yuan qi and cultivate on their own. They also had ancient bloodlines in their bodies. Although one wouldn't be chased by the black metal monsters for the first 10 days of the Sky Boundary Island, there were still many dangers here. The heaven-earth yuan qi here is perfect for me to break through. Lin Fan made up his mind and found a hidden corner to sit down cross-legged. Given his current situation where he was at the critical point of his cultivation, using the environment here to break through to the next level was the most suitable. Tens of miles away, in front of an ancient garden. My luck is pretty good this time. I've just arrived and I've already found the ancient ruins garden. Baimwa stood in front of a garden and could feel the dense heaven-earth yuan qi as well as some powerful auras. The aura that leaked out from the ancient ruins garden made him, who was at the peak of the 3rd rank, tremble. This also proved the existence of the ancient ruins garden and the great fortune within it. Of course, fortune and danger were always proportional. Baimwa naturally understood this. He took a deep breath, and his gaze was fierce. He revealed a trace of a will to cut off all means of retreat, and he leaped into the ancient garden ruins through a gap. If I don't make my move now, this ancient ruins garden will be discovered by others. Baimwa's figure disappeared into the ancient ruins garden. What he didn't know was that the Sky Boundary Island was huge and there were many treasures. Other people might not have the time to come and fight for his fortune. But relatively speaking, his luck was very good. He encountered such a great opportunity as soon as he teleported in. The 7 disciples were teleported to different corners of the Sky Boundary Island. Lin Fan's luck was average. On the other hand, Baimwa's energy was good. Apart from that, there were also some who had bad luck. For example, Yonggan had a pack of green-spotted wolves around him when he had just arrived. Their strength was at the 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm and they were a level higher than the black blood bats. Yonggan finally escaped from danger after fighting and running for his life. I was almost caught by the Green Wolf King. If I had been surrounded by the wolves, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Yonggan felt scared. The Green Wolf King's cultivation was almost at the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm and it was even stronger than the Bat Emperor. After escaping, Yonggan's figure suddenly came to a stop. He saw a tower in the depths of the forest that was hundreds of meters tall. Such a tall tower definitely isn't simple, but Yonggan was half happy and half worried because the tower was in the middle of the forest and the howls of beasts came from it. Some of the auras even made him feel danger. He wasn't as lucky as Baimwa, who teleported to the ancient ruins garden. At the same time, most of the disciples that were teleported to different parts of the Sky Boundary Island had their own fortunes. A youth stood on top of a mountain that was a few thousand meters tall. The youth had a head full of green hair, revealing a pair of deep and sharp green eyes, giving off a kind of evil yet elegant aura. I've finally come up. The area of the last trial isn't small. I can't even see the end of it with my left eye. It's at least 400 to 500 miles wide. Zhao Feng murmured to himself. He even suspected that this place wasn't even in the Sky Moon Mountain or the Cloud Country. All of these mysteries couldn't be solved at his current level. Even the elders of the clan might not be able to give a definite answer. After all, the Floating Crest Palace came from the ancient era. In that era, the Origin Core Realm and even the Void God Realm King Martial Emperors had appeared. These peerless experts had the ability to change fate. They could travel 1,000 miles with a single step, their bodies were indestructible, they could travel through space, they could revive from a drop of blood, they were no different from gods. Of course, unless one was one of the 4 great inheritances, such as the Scarlet Moon inheritance, it would be hard to come into contact with them. It had been a few hours since Zhao Feng had entered the Sky Boundary Island. When he first entered, he had scanned around with his left eye and he could faintly see a few places with fortunes. This meant that he had to make a choice, what fortune to choose. This was why he had climbed to the top of the mountain in order to have a better view. Standing on top of the mountain, Zhao Feng opened his left eye and without any obstacles, he could see very far. He could even see things 100 miles away. In the east, Zhao Feng saw a tall tower in a forest. He guessed that this place was full of fortune, but there were many powerful beasts in the forest and the strongest had reached the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm. There were even Yao Beast Kings at the True Spirit Realm. In the southwest, in the center of a crisscrossing river region, there was a mysterious garden. There seemed to be a mansion inside, and dense light waves flickered in the sky. That's probably an ancient garden. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. From the aura and scenery given off by the ancient garden, it was full of fortune. Unfortunately, there were many beasts in the river and there were also many flying beasts. It was even more dangerous than the tall tower. Furthermore, the ancient garden was far away from him and there were many dangers along the way. Zhao Feng shook his head and his left eye flashed with an azure light as he searched further. Chapter 175. At the entrance of the Floating Crest Palace. The 5 elders sat cross-legged for several days with their eyes closed, not talking to each other. In the blink of an eye, 8 days had passed and the first and second stage had ended. On this day, First Elder opened his eyes and slowly said, according to previous experiences, many people will be eliminated on the 5th and 6th day. The 5th and 6th day of the Floating Crest trial was considered the middle part of the trial and there were many dangers and killing. In the past, some people would be eliminated or even killed at this stage. But this time 8 days had passed and no one had been eliminated. It's indeed weird. According to the difficulty of the first stage, the killing in the second stage should be much more dangerous than the previous ones. Worry appeared on Granny Liu Yue's face. Her disciple, Liu Yu, was one of the weakest disciples. There's only 2 possibilities. Hai Yun Master, who was dressed in white and had a handsome face, suddenly interrupted. What possibility? Everyone present looked towards the youngest elder of the Broken Moon clan with the most potential. Hai Yun Master's result in the Floating Crest trial was the best in the past few decades or even 100 years. No one had ever surpassed his record. He had the most right to speak about the Floating Crest Palace. The first possibility is that there's an extremely high death rate. Even the trial itself can't control some of the deaths. Therefore, we haven't seen any eliminated disciples. Hai Yun Master said deeply. Hearing this, the expressions of the elders changed slightly and they couldn't help but become worried. Yes, the difficulty of this trial wasn't low. This could be seen from the first stage where they were chased by the black metal monsters at the True Spirit Realm. The second possibility is that there's an extremely high passing rate. Due to some factors, no one has been eliminated and no one has died. When Hai Yun Master said the second possibility, he shook his head and sighed. Everyone present understood that the possibility of the second possibility was very low. No one had been eliminated, no one had died and a 100% passing rate. Was this even possible? There had never been such a situation in the previous trials. I hope it's the second possibility. If it's really like this, then this will be the day our Broken Moon clan rises. The Broken Moon clan master sighed. The five at the true spirit realm probably wouldn't have thought that a small variable like a butterfly could cause a storm that could devour heaven and earth. Furthermore, this was just a small trial. Floating Crest Trial, Sky Boundary Island. The young man stood at the peak of the mountain, his blue hair fluttering in the wind. His blue eyes had a crystalline luster, as if they had a sharpness that could pierce through the world. Half an hour had passed. Zhao Feng had been standing in the same place, analyzing the geographical situation within a radius of more than 100 miles. Gradually, the outline of a realistic map was imprinted in his mind. On the outline of the map, there were not only mountains, rivers, forests, and other geographical features, but also some annotations. Some of these markings were places where there might be opportunities, while others were dangerous areas. For example, there was a terrifying three-headed blazing lion at a certain spot. This was a Yao beast king that had reached the true spirit realm. Bei Moi is so lucky to be able to enter the ancient ruins garden so quickly. I'm afraid he was directly teleported to the ancient ruins garden or the entrance. Zhao Feng could not help but curl his lips. However, he had to admit that luck was also a kind of strength. Legendary figures usually had good luck in their lives. For example, the Scarlet Moon Patriarch had entered one of the four great inheritances, the Scarlet Moon Inheritance. Apart from Bei Moi, Zhao Feng also saw traces of Yang Gan. Yang Gan's target was the tall tower in the dangerous forest. There were many Yao beasts in the forest and there were even Yao beast kings at the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sweat for him. Luckily, Yang Gan's luck wasn't bad and he didn't get close to the Yao Beast King's territory. The two good fortune spots nearby had either been taken by Bei Moi and Yang Gan or were preparing to attack them. This was especially so for the ancient ruins garden. It was probably the best fortune within 100 miles, followed by the tall tower. Zhao Feng even had the thought of stealing Bei Moi's fortune. But after thinking about it, he gave up on it. Firstly, Bei Moi's strength wasn't to be underestimated and he had the initiative. If Zhao Feng wanted to enter the ancient ruins garden, he would have to pass through many dangerous areas, which were even more dangerous than the tall tower and the forest. Secondly, Zhao Feng thought that he had to be more open-minded and see further. Thinking up to there, a smile appeared on his face as he had an extreme idea. The third trial has 10 days of safety. I won't look for any fortune for now. I'll just get to the bottom of the Sky Boundary Island. Zhao Feng had an idea. The other disciples that entered this trial and faced so many ancient inheritances would probably be unable to control themselves and try to take the initiative. Furthermore, after 10 days, the disciples would face the pursuit of the black metal monsters at the true spirit realm. It could be predicted that the pursuit at that time wouldn't be as simple as the first trial. Zhao Feng's thought process was different from others. Although he had found many places with fortune, he didn't plan on taking action immediately. I'll have a map of the entire Sky Boundary Island and the distribution of fortune in my hands. A light flashed in Zhao Feng's eyes as a hint of insanity appeared. He would control everything here and use the power of his left eye to the maximum. Tang! Zhao Feng's figure leapt down the mountain. Half a day later, Zhao Feng had reached an even further area. He wanted to see how big the Sky Boundary Island was. Along the way, Zhao Feng's left eye scanned the area and found dangers ahead of time. Most of the time, he would choose to avoid them. Sometimes, to save time, he would just force his way through. Luckily, he had learned the mental energy sound technique, which could scare weaker beasts. Every 100 miles, Zhao Feng would find a high ground and memorize the nearby terrain, marking out the dangers and fortuitous places. Although he had his left eye, Zhao Feng still ran into danger a few times. On the Sky Boundary Island, there were some beasts that specialized in hiding and weren't easy to find. Or there were some special dangerous areas. For example, Zhao Feng was near a patch of grass and was entangled by some vines. Luckily, he reacted quickly and found a direction and used his bloodline power to kill his way out. From then on, Zhao Feng was especially careful on the road. There was another time that was even more shocking. At that time, Zhao Feng was standing on top of a hill, and after scanning it with his left eye, he found that the hill was actually a sleeping stone golem. The stone golem was the size of a ship and was more than 10 times bigger than the black metal monster he had met in the first trial. Zhao Feng's bloodline power felt the aura of the stone golem and his heart trembled. He was sure that when the stone golem was awakened, it could instantly kill a cultivator at the true spirit realm. This was only part of the danger. On the way, Zhao Feng found all sorts of weird things. What was it like in the ancient era? How could there be so many terrifying existences? Demonic beasts with different abilities, hills, plants. Everything may contain mysteries. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. After a day and a half, Zhao Feng arrived at the end of the Sky Boundary Island. At the end of the Sky Boundary Island was a boundless expanse of blue seawater. Zhao Feng roughly looked around and found that the number of beasts in the ocean was 10 to 100 times more than on land. If he entered the ocean, it would be hard for him to survive even with his left eye. Zhao Feng calculated that he had walked around 200 to 300 miles from the starting point to the end of the Sky Boundary Island. He then went back the way he came. Because he was familiar with the geography, Zhao Feng's speed was fast and he avoided any danger. Returning to the mountain, Zhao Feng went in 3 different directions. A few days later, Zhao Feng returned to the mountain with an exhausted expression. In a total of 4 to 5 days, Zhao Feng had found out everything about the Sky Boundary Island. Now, he was familiar with the geography of the Heavenly Boundary Island, including the locations of the dangers, the opportunities, and even the distribution of the beasts. So far, there are a total of 139 places with treasures. Amongst them, there are 4 to 5 places with treasures comparable to the ancient ruins garden, but all of them are filled with danger. Zhao Feng murmured in his heart. Of course, the existence of danger was also everywhere. There were 200 or so places that if Zhao Feng entered, he would most likely not be able to return. There were at least 40 to 50 existences that could instantly kill him, and this was only the ones that had been explored so far. In a total of 5 days, Zhao Feng found many treasures, but he didn't take any of them. However, he didn't regret it. There's still 5 more days. At least in these 5 days, I won't be chased by those at the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. Next, every step he took was crucial. So, Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the air and headed towards the edge of the Tall Tower Forest. The Tall Tower Forest was the area that Yang Gan had explored. According to what Zhao Feng knew, Yang Gan had entered the mysterious tower by luck. Maybe he had some hidden cards. Zhao Feng's target obviously wasn't the Tall Tower. Near the Tall Tower Forest was a winding river that ran through almost half of the Sky Boundary Island. The water of the river was extremely cold and there was no aura of beasts nearby. All in all, this river was extremely weird. Zhao Feng had seen a weird scene from the top of the mountain. The blue river was like a dragon and a snake, it was extremely lifelike. Adding on the fact that there weren't any signs of beasts nearby, Zhao Feng decided to take a look. I'll call this river the Dragon Snake Ice River. Zhao Feng gave it a name. He followed the Dragon Snake Glacier downstream and explored upwards, his left eye opening from time to time. As he neared the river, he felt a terrifying coldness. The deeper he went, the stronger the coldness was. There didn't seem to be anything on the way and he was about to reach the end. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. Instinct told him that this Dragon Snake Ice River wasn't simple and had its own history. When he reached the end, the mouth of the Dragon Snake Ice River was connected to a waterfall. Below the waterfall was a freezing pond. The freezing pond wasn't big and was only 10 yards wide, but it was cold enough to make one's soul feel cold. Looks like this is the place. Zhao Feng stood in front of the freezing pond. Suddenly, a weird coldness spread from his feet to his entire body and seeped into his bones. When in the dimension of his left eye, the azure abyss spun faster and the azure blood in his body started to boil, dispelling the coldness. Chapter 176. Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. What kind of power did this freezing pond have to make his left eye alert and his bloodline power automatically protect him? He believed that even beasts at the fifth or sixth sky of the ascended realm would avoid this place. The coldness in the pond was enough to make those at the true spirit realm feel uneasy. This is the source, Li Yao said. Zhao Feng had a feeling that if he wanted to find the secret of the Dragon Snake Ice River, this would be the end. He had already searched the other areas with his left eye, but there was nothing special. Now, the most important thing was the pond in front of him. Zhao Feng's left eye could only see 2 to 3 yards deep into the pond. If it was a normal river, he could see 10 yards deep, but the water in this pond was extremely unique and contained an incredible coldness. All in all, using his left eye to see the bottom wouldn't work. If I want to find the secret of the Dragon Snake Ice River, I'll have to go in and see if it's worth it. Zhao Feng's thoughts spun. If it was anyone else, they definitely wouldn't try it. That was because the cold energy contained within the chilling pond was too powerful. Ordinary transcending mortality stage beings would probably be frozen in no time if they jumped into the chilling pond. My silver wall technique has reached the highest level and my resistance to coldness is even stronger than those at the fourth sky of the ascended realm. Apart from that, my bloodline power seems to have a certain resistance to the power of the pond. Zhao Feng thought for a while, then clenched his teeth and decided to take a gamble. Instinct told him that this Dragon Snake Ice River was extremely mysterious and there was an aura from it that made his left eye sense it. Furthermore, he had many advantages and the chance of him escaping unscathed was high. Plop! Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the pond like a fish. The next instant, a coldness covered his entire body. If it was someone at the same cultivation, their limbs would probably become numb and if they didn't return to the shore immediately, they would die. But Zhao Feng had trained the silver wall technique and his body was extremely strong. He immediately circulated his true force to protect himself and a silver light appeared on his body. Within the pond, Zhao Feng opened his left eye and slowly went in. 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, Zhao Feng couldn't take it any longer. Fortunately, the azure blood in his body started to boil and a warm aura enveloped his body. The power of his bloodline had a higher resistance to the cold in the lake, and it was several times more effective than silver wall technique. 4 zhang, 5 zhang, 6 zhang, the deeper they went, the more terrifying the chill became. The coldness also contained a power that could corrode one's soul. Luckily, the azure abyss in the dimension of his left eye was able to resist the coldness. And this was only him. If it was Yang Gan, the strongest of the trial disciples, he probably wouldn't be able to go deeper than 3 feet. As for Zhao Feng, he had already reached a depth of 6 zhang. 60 feet was almost Zhao Feng's limit. He gritted his teeth and continued forward. 6 zhang, 7 zhang, 8 zhang. I can't take it anymore. Zhao Feng felt like his body was about to freeze. He even wanted to return to the shore, but he couldn't. Rise! Zhao Feng shouted, the bloodline power and true force in his body almost burning. Voila! Zhao Feng jumped out of the lake like a fish and returned to the shore. That was close. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Of course, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything from this trip. Before Zhao Feng returned, he condensed his left eye and saw a dark blue crystal about 10 feet under the lake. It looked like a teardrop, but it was as big as a watermelon. Where did that blue crystal come from? Zhao Feng only glanced at it with his left eye and felt a terrifying coldness attack him. Luckily, he used his left eye. If he used a normal eye, the coldness would probably engulf his body. Instinct told Zhao Feng that the blue crystal wasn't something he could touch, much less possess. That thing might be even more troublesome than ordinary spiritual divine weapons. But Zhao Feng didn't want to give up, so he decided to go down and see what was going on. The second time. He first ate a scarlet blood fruit. The scarlet blood fruit had strong medicinal properties, and contained the power of the sun. After Zhao Feng ate it, he felt as if there was a fire burning in his body. Even his true force and bloodline power seemed to boil. He used a scarlet blood fruit as the price to resist the cold energy in the pond water. Plop! After entering the lake, Zhao Feng felt the cold power decrease, and he easily reached 80 feet. His body was constantly burning with the power of the sun, and his bloodline power was also boiling. This was all thanks to the scarlet blood fruit, otherwise Zhao Feng wouldn't have been able to go any further. At 80 feet, Zhao Feng was only 10 feet away from the blue crystal. The blue crystal had threads of transparent blue patterns, like a blossoming ice lotus. It was dreamy and beautiful in the water, and when one looked at it, they felt a piercing coldness in their soul. Zhao Feng could only use his left eye to admire it. 80 feet, 90 feet, Zhao Feng felt that with every step he took, the coldness multiplied. Finally, he stopped at 99 feet, and was about 1 foot away from the blue crystal. At this moment, if Zhao Feng went another foot, the cold power would increase by several times, and he would be sealed in ice. At close range, Zhao Feng found that the blue crystal did not seem to be solid, and there were faint ripples on its surface, like a tear. Pity, is there really no other way? Zhao Feng knew that there was no chance, unless he wanted to die. Whoosh! As he swam upwards, before leaving, Zhao Feng suddenly thought of a plan. He took out a silver thread as thin as silk. This silver thread was very thin, and was made from cold iron. It was also of the cold attribute, and was comparable to a semi-divine weapon, and was suitable to use in this environment. Zhao Feng thought, and took out the Luoho bow, and used the silver thread to wrap around the bow. Other than that, he took out an exquisite dark green arrow from his quiver. The other end of the silver thread was tied to the arrow. This way, the arrow that was shot could be called back through the connection between the silver thread and the bow. Hee, let's try. Zhao Feng smiled lightly. He found that the blue crystal tear was not completely solid, which was why he gave it a try. Then, he circulated his true power, circulated his bloodline power, and aimed at the blue crystal tear, and shot an arrow. To prevent accidents, Zhao Feng shot the arrow, and after feeling that it would hit the target, he quickly jumped out. Psst, the dark green arrow, filled with true power and bloodline power, shot at half the speed of sound towards the blue crystal tear. However, the arrow's speed became slower and slower, and finally froze into an ice arrow, barely reaching the ripples around the blue crystal tear. The blue ripples were actually a part of the blue crystal tear. Pew pew. A strange sound came from the bottom of the cold pond, and it was a sound that went straight to the soul. Zhao Feng inexplicably shuddered, and felt a fatal danger, and quickly flew back to the shore. At the same time, a terrifying coldness came from the Luoho bow. Not good. Zhao Feng felt his body go numb, and threw the Luoho bow into the distance. Tsang! His body flew dozens of yards in the air, and in one breath, he flew hundreds of yards before landing on the ground. Even from hundreds of yards away, Zhao Feng still felt a soul-shaking coldness. Inside a tall tower in a nearby forest. What's going on? Why is it suddenly so cold? Yang Gan was on the 9th floor of the tall tower, and he suddenly felt a chill. He wasn't the only one affected. Bei Moi and the other trial disciples nearby all felt a terrifying coldness. A strong coldness spread from the source of the Dragon Snake Ice River, and quickly spread across the Sky Boundary Island. The temperature of the entire Sky Boundary Island suddenly dropped. In just a few breaths, the temperature of the Sky Boundary Island dropped by more than 10 degrees. In the next 10 breaths, the temperature continued to drop. If this continued, the entire Sky Boundary Island would become an island of ice. In front of the cold pond. Fuck! The instant Zhao Feng landed on the ground, he felt a bone-chilling coldness, and his legs almost went numb. As the cause, he was closer to the source of the ice, and thus the coldness he felt was stronger. Luckily, the explosion of coldness only lasted for an instant, and then calmed down. Zhao Feng's gaze didn't leave the cold pond. The Luoho bow fell from the air, and a blue-silver line was attached to it. The arrow on the other end had long since shattered into pieces. At the other end of the silver thread, there was a faint blue ripple. The blue ripple came from the blue crystal tear at the bottom of the pond. CSI, the power of the blue ripple followed the blue-silver line and extended to the Luoho bow. The reason why the silver line didn't shatter so quickly was because of its coldness. After entering the depths of the pond, its material was changed by the coldness. After a few breaths, the blue ripple disappeared, and its power was channeled into the Luoho bow through the silver line. A strange symbol was imprinted on the Luoho bow. The symbol was in the shape of a ripple, like a blooming ice lotus. Plop! The silver line shattered into pieces of ice. Zhao Feng jumped up in fright, and when he looked over, he found that the Luoho bow wasn't damaged. After all, it was a middle-grade mortal weapon, and when paired with the corresponding arrow, it was comparable to a high-grade mortal weapon. The Luoho bow lay quietly on the ground, not moving at all. Zhao Feng felt the coldness slowly dissipate, and when it calmed down, he quietly walked to the Luoho bow. He carefully touched the Luoho bow, and a bone-chilling coldness came from it. Luckily, it only circled around the bow, and didn't invade his body. As long as the bow isn't damaged. Zhao Feng let out a sigh of relief, and carefully examined the Luoho bow. He found that the bow seemed to have been changed by the power of the blue crystal tear. Other than the coldness it emitted, the material and aura of the bow had changed. The power of the blue crystal tear was terrifying. Just a trace of it was enough to lower the temperature of the entire Paradise Island by tens of degrees. He took out the arrows from his quiver, and his expression changed. The arrows in the quiver all had a faint blue glow, as if they were affected by the coldness when they entered the pond. Whoosh! Zhao Feng pulled the Luoho bow, and the blue arrow in his hand shot through the air. The coldness splashed, and hit a tree in the distance. Bang! The arrow pierced into the tree. Every flower and tree on Paradise Island was not simple. If it was a tree from the outer sanctum, it would have been pierced. The power doesn't seem to have changed. Zhao Feng was a little disappointed. Could it be that his instinct was wrong? Not only did the arrow not have much power, but it also broke into pieces. It seemed that the material had become brittle after absorbing the coldness. However, in the next moment, hiss, a layer of frost formed on the surface of the tree that was pierced, and it became thicker, and it quickly turned into ice crystals. In a breath's time, the 10-meter-tall tree was covered in ice crystals, and it looked like a crystal statue, shining brightly under the sun. Frozen, Zhao Feng took in a cold breath in shock. Chapter 177. Zhao Feng took in a cold breath. He didn't think that the Luoho bow would have such a change. The increase in power was secondary, the true change was in the element. The blue pattern on the Luoho bow blossomed like an ice lotus, and the arrows in the quiver started to glow with a faint blue. A portion of the mysterious crystal tear's origin energy was channeled into the bow through the ice. The arrows in Zhao Feng's quiver had also absorbed a portion of the cold energy when they got close to the crystal tear. But the arrow he shot out just then seemed to be a one-time use item. Zhao Feng thought for a while before finding a branch nearby and shooting it out with the Luoho bow. So, the moment the branch shot out, it brought with it a surge of coldness, and when it hit the target, it broke into pieces. However, a layer of frost formed on the target and it didn't freeze the target. It looks like only these modified arrows can unleash the full power of the ice. Zhao Feng thought in his heart. This meant that the remaining tens of arrows in the quiver were extremely precious. These blue arrows combined with the Luoho bow could unleash the power of ice. From the power just then, anyone under the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm would be frozen to death if they were hit by this arrow. Those at the fourth and fifth sky of the Ascended Realm wouldn't be able to escape in a short amount of time, but they might be able to survive and even break through the ice. Even those at the sixth sky of the Ascended Realm and above would have a strong freezing effect, which would affect their movement speed. This level of cold energy effect could be said to be abnormal. The only regret was that the remaining arrows were all one-time use items. Zhao Feng analyzed that if he brought these arrows out, they might break when the temperature warmed up. See, the ice from the freezing pond continued to leak out. Zhao Feng's body froze as he stood nearby. His bloodline power was limited, and the power of the two scarlet blood fruits had almost been used up. Go! Zhao Feng looked unwillingly at the freezing pond, but logic told him that this treasure wasn't something he could have at his level. This was just like when he obtained the spirit-rank divine armament, Blood Moon Devouring Spirit Sword. It was utterly impossible for Zhao Feng to control it. In order to obtain the mysterious crystal tear, Zhao Feng had to reach the true spirit realm, and this was based on the fact that he had the power of his bloodline. If it was an ordinary true spirit realm, he might not be able to succeed. On second thought, Zhao Feng felt that he had gained quite a lot. The Luoho Bao had been improved by the origin cold power of the mysterious crystal tear. Its power and quality had increased by at least half a grade. Those consumable blue arrows also gave Zhao Feng a few more trump cards. In fact, Zhao Feng felt that his physique had been affected by the cold energy and had improved. His resistance to cold energy had definitely increased. After leaving the cold pond, Zhao Feng quickly flew in the southeast direction. Along the way, cold air permeated the surroundings, and the temperature continued to drop. The mysterious crystal tear in the frigid pond was obviously a taboo on the sky boundary island. Zhao Feng had unintentionally touched it, but it had directly affected the temperature of the entire island. Under the sudden drop in temperature, many of the beasts on the sky boundary island returned to their nests, and some of the weaker beasts were even killed. Only some of the stronger beasts weren't affected. Unknowingly, this lowered the difficulty of the trial, and the possibility of being surrounded by beasts was also greatly reduced. Zhao Feng didn't know that his unintentional action had once again affected the floating crest trial. 6 hours later, a valley appeared in Zhao Feng's vision. A few hours ago, it had been a valley, but now it had turned into an icy valley. Originally, on Zhao Feng's map, there were several groups of beasts nearby, but because of the sudden change in the weather, many of them had returned to their caves to avoid the cold. Zhao Feng's resistance had decreased by a lot. According to what he had seen before, this valley was covered by a powerful illusion array, and there should be something wrong with it. In terms of size, this place could be compared to the ancient garden, but it was more hidden. Zhao Feng didn't know what was inside the valley, and whether it was a blessing or a curse was hard to predict. Since it's covered by the illusion array, there should be some secrets here. Zhao Feng flew to the top of the valley and looked down. From his point of view, the center of the valley was a complete vacuum, and below it was a bottomless abyss, shrouded in clouds and mist. Faintly, the roars of beasts could be heard from the abyss, and the aura was even stronger than those at the true spirit realm. However, as an array master, Zhao Feng was almost immune to mental energy illusions. He opened his left eye and observed the area below him. He could feel traces of the power of the formation runes. Even with his left eye, Zhao Feng couldn't see through the array, and he could only see the outline of the valley. All in all, it wasn't an abyss, and there weren't any terrifying beasts. Tsang! Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the air, ignoring the effects of the illusion array, and floated towards the valley. As he descended, he had a feeling that his body was falling into the abyss, and below him was a terrifying beast with its mouth wide open. What awaited him was a nightmare. However, he knew that this was all an illusion brought about by the illusion array. After all, this was an ancient ruin, and even he, who had the mysterious left eye, wasn't immune to it. After leaping through the air a few times, Zhao Feng landed like a feather. At this moment, he was in a bustling town. There were many people walking around the town, men, women, and children. They were all dressed in ancient clothes, as if they were from a long time ago. All the buildings in the town gave off a rustic and aged aura. Spicy stinky tofu, 1 copper coin for 2. Candied haws, 1 copper coin for a skewer. The sounds of people selling their wares rose and fell. Zhao Feng had an indescribable feeling as he stood in the market. It was as if this market was isolated from the rest of the world, and had nothing to do with the floating crest trial. However, Zhao Feng didn't think that there was no meaning in being in the trial. It looks real, but everything here is the power of the illusion array. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. The power of the illusion array within the valley was extremely strong and real. Even Zhao Feng's left eye couldn't see through it. He couldn't imagine that the power of the illusion array could simulate the details of a large market. Here, he could see farmers selling vegetables, acrobats, and even hoodlums collecting protection fees. Everything was so real. If it wasn't for the mysterious left eye, Zhao Feng wouldn't have realized that everything here was an illusion. At the same time, Zhao Feng's mind quickly spun and analyzed. What was the meaning of this market? Before the floating crest trial, First Elder had already mentioned some factors in the trial. Some of the fortune in the trial didn't have to be obtained through killing. In reality, as a righteous inheritance, some of the fortune in the trial was based on other factors, such as one's willpower, intelligence, and even character. Only those who met certain conditions would be able to obtain the fortune. Normal trial takers wouldn't be able to tell if this is real or fake. If that's the case, I'll treat it as real. An idea soon appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. He tried to capture some useful information from the market. However, the amount of information in the illusion was too much. Zhao Feng decided to wander around the town. Until, at a certain place, Zhao Feng heard the angry roar of a youth, "You bastards, let go of my mum." That voice was extremely clear in his mind, and it was slightly different from the other noises in the market. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng had his left eye, he wouldn't have been able to detect it. Is this a voice purposely made for the trial takers to hear? A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. He glanced sideways and saw a shabby bun shop. A beautiful woman was being pulled and dragged by three ruffians with evil smiles on their faces. "Let go of my mom." A young man dressed in tattered clothes was struggling with a local ruffian. Bam! The youth was slapped away by one of the thugs, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. "Humph! Your dad owes the casino 3,000 silver, and the bun shop is mortgaged 1,000 silver. The remaining 2,000 silver, I'll let your pretty mother go to the Yihong courtyard to pay off the debt, it'll be faster than this bun shop." One of the thugs snickered. Seeing this, Zhao Feng understood the situation. Even in the real world, if he was in a bad mood, he wouldn't hesitate to attack them. Furthermore, this could be the key point of the trial. More importantly, this was the trial of the righteous path, and getting rid of the tyrants was the right thing to do. "The three of you, piss off." Zhao Feng charged up and kicked one of the thugs away. The other two thugs roared as they charged over. Zhao Feng's cultivation was at the martial disciple level, and even if he didn't use his true force, he could still easily defeat the two thugs. The three thugs were all kicked away by Zhao Feng, and they couldn't get up for a while. "Thank you for saving us." The beautiful woman and the youth were extremely grateful. At the same time, Zhao Feng could see the worry on the woman's face. "Little brother, what's your name?" Zhao Feng asked. "I'm Li Luan." "Big brother, you were too strong," the youth said with admiration. Li Luan. Floating crest trial. Zhao Feng murmured to himself as he looked at the youth in front of him, and he couldn't help but think. Whether it was to verify his guess, or to be a good person to the end. In the next half a day, Zhao Feng helped Li Luan's family solve their problems. The thugs in the town were all subdued by Zhao Feng's martial arts. In order to solve the problem once and for all, Zhao Feng used a pen and paper to write down a few martial arts techniques, from basic martial arts to high-level martial arts, and taught them to Li Luan. However, after doing all this, Zhao Feng didn't get the fortuitous encounter he had imagined. He was secretly puzzled. Could it be that he wasn't fated to get the fortuitous encounter? Zhao Feng felt that this town wasn't that simple. But his time was limited, and he decided to leave after staying in the town for a day. He had grasped many fortuitous encounters in the trial, and he couldn't hang on to one tree. The next day, Zhao Feng bid farewell to Li Luan's family. "Big brother Zhao, thank you for helping my family. This is my most beloved knife, and I'll give it to you now." Li Luan handed over an item. Zhao Feng's eyes lit up. But the so-called knife was just an old piece of metal, and on it, there were blue lines that looked like electric lines. Taking the small piece of metal, Zhao Feng felt a cool aura. The moment his consciousness merged with it, he captured a scene. Rolling blue lightning flashed in the sky. The power of the lightning lit up heaven and earth as it struck down, raising a hill to the ground. At the same time, a message appeared in his mind: floating crest lightning seal. Chapter 178. Floating crest lightning seal. Ever since Zhao Feng had left the market, he had been touching the metal piece in his hand. In terms of material, the metal piece was ordinary, but it contained an unimaginable intent. Even if this intent was very brief, its profoundness and profundity far surpassed Zhao Feng's level. Even with my comprehension, I can only touch the surface of the floating crest lightning seal, and that's with the foundation of the lightning wind palm. Zhao Feng fell into deep thought. After merging with the mysterious left eye, Zhao Feng's comprehension was monstrous, much stronger than most geniuses. But now, with the foundation of the lightning wind palm, he could only touch the surface of the floating crest lightning seal. Furthermore, he could feel that the aura of the floating crest lightning seal was similar to the lightning wind palm. However, the intent of the floating crest lightning seal was more than 100 times stronger than the lightning wind palm. The lightning wind palm could only summon wind and lightning, while the floating crest lightning seal could directly control lightning. What was the connection between the two? Zhao Feng could vaguely remember that the lightning wind palm was an ancient skill, but it seemed to be incomplete. At the same time, there were some powerful skills in the clan that were obtained from the floating crest palace. For example, Baimua's northern dark heavenly water was obtained from the floating crest palace by Haiyun Master. It looks like this floating crest lightning seal isn't just because of my performance in the town. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. The floating crest lightning seal was related to the lightning wind palm that Zhao Feng trained in. He opened the power of his left eye and tried to copy the scene in the floating crest lightning seal. However, the level of this scene was too high, and he had to use all of his mental energy to barely succeed. Zhao Feng did this in order to feel at ease, to make these things truly his. He couldn't comprehend the floating crest lightning seal in a short period of time, and who knew if it would be confiscated by the clan after the trial. According to the rules of each trial, the sect would take a portion of the treasures obtained according to a certain ratio, and would also bestow some contribution points to the participants. After putting away the floating crest lightning seal, Zhao Feng headed in another direction. In his mind, he had the outline of the entire heavenly boundary island. He had already marked out all the places that might contain fortuitous encounters. The next target was a little further away. The targets that Zhao Feng had chosen were all those that he had sorted out and analyzed. He believed that there was something special about them, or that they were relatively large in scale. In the end, the first goal was to cause the entire Sky Boundary Island's environment to change drastically. That was a taboo, and the opportunities involved were not something he could obtain. His second goal was the floating crest lightning seal, which Zhao Feng still couldn't figure out. As for the third target, Zhao Feng reckoned that it would be similar to Baimua's ruins garden. On the way, when they passed by a secluded area, Zhao Feng felt a familiar true power undulation. Senior brother Lin. Zhao Feng's left eye saw a familiar figure. It was Lin Fan. The fluctuation of Lin Fan's true force was strong, as if he had just broken through to the third sky of the ascended realm. Zhao Feng put on the blindfold and met up with Lin Fan. Junior brother Zhao, I didn't think that we would meet again. Lin Fan was pleasantly surprised. Zhao Feng thought for a while before pointing out a path: walk 50 miles northwest and there'll be a valley covered in illusions. You can try your luck there. The valley he pointed out was the place he had just been to. Zhao Feng thought, I've already experienced that illusion, can Lin Fan do it again? Of course, it's hard to say if you'll succeed. There's a hidden godly shrine tens of miles south of the valley. You can go there and try. Zhao Feng gave Lin Fan another fortune point. Lin Fan was surprised. Junior brother Zhao, you seem to know a lot about this place. Of course. I've spent a few days investigating the Sky Boundary Island, and I've got a good grasp of everything within 200 miles. I've only just started. Zhao Feng rolled his eyes and said half-truthfully. Hearing this, Lin Fan couldn't help but admire Zhao Feng. The others who had entered the Sky Boundary Island wouldn't give up. However, Zhao Feng didn't do anything in the first 5 days. He wanted to know the situation first. As the saying goes, know yourself, know your enemy, and you will win every battle. From the moment he made his move, Zhao Feng's foresight was fated to be more far-sighted than any other trial taker. After saying goodbye to Lin Fan, Zhao Feng headed towards the third destination. 6 days have passed in the Floating Crest trial. Only 3 to 4 days left. Zhao Feng quickened his pace. The third destination was slightly further away, but due to the drastic change in the climate of the Sky Boundary Island, some of the beasts no longer existed, which reduced Zhao Feng's resistance. Half a day later, Zhao Feng arrived at a grassy plain. According to the original situation, there should have been a large flock of flying beasts above the grassy plain. Each flock was at least a few times larger than the black blood bats in the second stage. Due to the change in climate, the entire island had turned into a glacier, and there were only a few flying beasts left. Zhao Feng increased his speed and passed through another area filled with the fragrance of flowers. There was originally a terrifying amount of poisonous bees here, with the weakest being at the half-step ascended realm and some at the first or second sky. If I'm unlucky, I'll be surrounded by tens of thousands of them, Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. But now, most of the poisonous bees had gone into hiding to get used to the sudden change in temperature. The temperature on the island had a huge effect on those at the first sky of the ascended realm. Only those at the third sky of the ascended realm or higher would be able to reduce the effect of the cold. I'm finally here. Zhao Feng let out a long breath as he looked at the castle in front of him. An ancient and simple aura came from the ancient castle. Every brick and tile of the castle had the marks of time. In terms of size, this castle was comparable to the ancient garden that Bei Moi had entered. But the danger around it was greatly reduced after being covered in ice and snow. After entering the castle, Zhao Feng became cautious. The ancient castle itself had some dangerous environments. For example, the moat in front of the castle was black and gray, and it gave off an aura that made Zhao Feng's heart beat faster. He threw a piece of godly weapon into the moat, and a weird sizzling sound came from the moat. The piece of godly weapon soon melted. Because the piece of godly weapon had lost its spirituality and array, it had a weaker resistance against external forces, but normal cultivators at the ascended realm wouldn't be able to destroy it easily. The entire ancient castle was deathly silent. It was strange to the extreme, and it gave off an eerie feeling. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly as he searched the area around the city walls. There are traces of someone coming here. His heart clenched. There were only 2 possibilities. One was that there was an unknown existence in the trial, and the other was someone amongst the disciples. Zhao Feng thought that the second possibility was more likely. Ding! Pang! Dong! Right at this moment, the sound of fighting came from the depths of the castle. Zhao Feng's left eye contracted and he found that the source of the sound was a luxurious building in the middle of the castle. But when he saw it clearly, Zhao Feng was slightly shocked. How unlucky! I've finally entered the core, but I've triggered these guys. Quan Chen's ruffled figure flew out from the luxurious building. 2 black armored figures chased after him. Their bodies were covered in black armor and they didn't have any signs of life. Zhao Feng's left eye could see through the material and he could see that the black armored figures were made of special machinery, with a core of energy in the middle. From the looks of it, the strength of the 2 black armored figures were close to the 5th sky of the ascended realm, or else Quan Chen wouldn't be in such a ruffled state. Brother Zhao, come and help. Quan Chen's eyes lit up as he saw Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed and he instinctively reached for the arrows in his quiver, but he suddenly stopped. These blue arrows have the effect of freezing, but they're all one-use items. It wasn't worth it to waste them on Quan Chen. Brother Quan, I'm afraid my arrows won't be able to pierce through the black armored figures. Zhao Feng's figure flashed and he landed on the city gate. Quan Chen cursed in his heart. As expected, this Zhao Feng wouldn't help him. Luckily, the two from the Hay family returned to the building after chasing for 100 yards. It was as if guarding the building was their mission. Even if the other parts of the castle were to be flipped upside down, they wouldn't care. Brother Zhao, you've come at the right time. This castle is weird and I've finally found the core, but I've run into trouble. Why don't we team up and split the profits 50-50? A smile appeared on Quan Chen's face as a cold light flashed in his eyes. Okay. Zhao Feng nodded his head. Ever since he entered the clan, he and Quan Chen had been enemies. In the past, he was just an ant in Quan Chen's eyes. But now, Zhao Feng had grown to the point where he wasn't afraid of the other. In this unknown environment, Quan Chen wanted to use Zhao Feng to kill him if he had the chance. Zhao Feng's thoughts were the same. He had entered the castle late and with Quan Chen's help, he could go straight to the core. If he had the chance, he would send the other off. The two had their own plans, but they walked towards the building at the center of the castle. Brother Quan, you've been in the castle for a day or two, right? You must have gained a lot. Zhao Feng smiled as he looked at the bag on Quan Chen's back. Zhao Feng could see through some of the things in the bag with his left eye, so they had some value. Of course, these things were nothing compared to the interspatial bracelet and the floating crest lightning seal that Zhao Feng had obtained. No. I've only just reached the core of the castle and in 3 days, everyone will be hunted down and we won't have a chance anymore. Quan Chen led the way. The two soon entered the building. Near the entrance, there were some broken pieces and traces of fighting. Quan Chen had been here for 2 to 3 days and he had cleared out an entrance from the outside. The most valuable place in this building is the collection room. There are many treasures inside, but it's a pity that there's a powerful guard here. The strength of these guards range from the 4th to 6th sky. Quan Chen explained. Zhao Feng's figure leapt onto a tall building and he scanned the layout of the building with his left eye. In a flash, Zhao Feng had a good grasp of the layout of the buildings and the distribution of the guards in the estate. When Quan Chen led the way, he only told Lin Fan about the dangerous parts, but he purposely hid some of the hidden dangers. Zhao Feng snickered coldly in his heart as he followed Quan Chen and they passed through several dangerous areas before finally entering a large hall. Inside the hall, there were some black and silver guards. The black guards were usually at the 4th or 5th sky of the Ascended Realm, and the silver guards were all at the 6th sky or higher. Even someone as strong as Yang Gan would find it hard to take down this place. No wonder Quan Chen would pull Zhao Feng into his group despite being enemies. Brother Zhao, that's the collection room. Quan Chen extended his hand and pointed at an ancient-looking house, from which a faint aura of a spiritual item could be sensed. Chapter 179. Zhao Feng inspected the treasury that Quan Chen was pointing at. When he first entered the mansion, he used his left eye to observe the terrain of the entire area, including the distribution of guards. But one thing was for sure, this was the core of the building, where the guards were the strongest. Quan Chen had spent 2 to 3 days to get here from the outskirts of the building, killing at least tens of guards before he was able to get here. Zhao Feng knew that there were a few hundred guards in the building and it wasn't easy for Quan Chen to get here. Because of this, Quan Chen must have paid a price. Although his cultivation had increased after entering the trial and he was close to the peak 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. With Quan Chen's personality, how would he let others take the fruits of his victory? Therefore, Quan Chen's promise of a 50-50 split couldn't be taken seriously. Zhao Feng sorted out his thoughts. Through Quan Chen, he indeed had less trouble and he could directly reach the core of the building. The treasury in front of him was even bigger than the living room of a normal family. The aura from the treasury was enough to make any participant's heart beat faster. Just the aura it exudes is already stronger than an ordinary spiritual weapon. Zhao Feng's senses were sharper than Quan Chen's and he had touched spiritual-grade weapons before. Spiritual weapons were extremely rare in the current continent. Even if a sect possessed 1 or 2 of them, they would be considered as their sect's treasures. Furthermore, this was just the aura from the treasury, which wasn't even 1% of the real thing. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao, why don't we split up? One of us will attract most of the guards and the other will enter the treasury to steal the treasures. Quan Chen squeezed out a smile. Steal? Brother Quan, don't make it sound so bad. This building doesn't have an owner and who knows how long it's been since he died. We'll take it openly. Zhao Feng snorted disdainfully. That's right, we'll take it. Quan Chen forced a smile as he suppressed the anger in his heart. Since when did this ant dare to lecture him to his face? Next, the two started to discuss who would attract the attention and who would take the treasures. Zhao Feng thought for a while and scanned the entire treasury with his left eye, capturing the patterns of the array. His left eye could barely see through the wall, and he could see some outlines inside. Junior Brother Zhao, your movement technique isn't bad. It shouldn't be a problem for you to attract the guards. Of course, if you don't feel at ease, I can also attract the guards. Quan Chen had a generous look on his face, as if he wouldn't object to whatever decision Zhao Feng made. If it was an ordinary person, they would most likely choose the latter. They would only feel at ease if they personally entered the collection room. Alright, I'll attract the guards. Zhao Feng said calmly. Sure. Quan Chen was a little surprised. He sneered in his heart. No matter what choice you make, you're just a pawn sent to your death. Firstly, Zhao Feng had just arrived at the mansion and wasn't familiar with the terrain and hidden dangers. If he chose to attract the attention of the guards, he would only be shrouded by more and more dangers, and he would definitely die. Secondly, if he chose to enter the treasury and Quan Chen alerted the guards, leaving Zhao Feng behind, the treasury would become a dangerous place. Therefore, Quan Chen already had a plan. No matter which one he chose, Zhao Feng would be a chess piece sent to his death. There were around 20 to 30 guards near the treasury, and their cultivations ranged from the 4th to 6th sky. Attracting the attention of so many guards was a dangerous job. According to the plan, Zhao Feng needed to attract the attention of at least 10 guards. Pang! Zhao Feng threw out a punch and a powerful wave of energy hit the treasury, causing the entire room to shake. The treasury was protected by an array and the instant it was hit, a rainbow glow appeared, attracting the attention of the nearby guards. So, Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the air and attracted the attention of 10-20 guards, then he ran out of the mansion. There were around 10 at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm, 4 at the 5th sky and only 1 at the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm. Good job, Brother Zhao. Quan Chen was overjoyed and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Being chased by so many guards, only Yang Gan would be able to escape unscathed. If it was him or Bei Moi, it would be extremely dangerous. Furthermore, according to what he knew, Zhao Feng had just entered the mansion, so he didn't know anything about the terrain or the hidden dangers. Zhao Feng's figure turned into a blur and he circulated his heavenly wind true force to the maximum, making his speed even faster than some cultivators at the 4th sky. This was because his heavenly wind god technique had reached a high level and was close to the peak 4th sky, so the purity of his true force was higher than normal cultivators at the 4th sky. Furthermore, in terms of speed and movement, Zhao Feng had used the illusion fish picture as the core and had merged many movement skills into it. Once he used his full strength, Zhao Feng was even faster than Quan Chen. Furthermore, these guards were all heavily armored and although they had strong offense and defense, their speed and agility weren't good. Zhao Feng used his agility to attract the attention of these guards and after a while, even the guards at the 5th or 6th sky couldn't get close to him in a short amount of time. His left eye could see everything nearby and it could even see through walls to see the hidden dangers. His control of the terrain was even better than Quan Chen's. Not long after, Zhao Feng attracted the guards to the entrance of the mansion. At this point in time, apart from the Silver Guard, there were still 4 guards at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm who could keep up. Only the Silver Guard's speed was faster than Zhao Feng's, but it wasn't as agile. Zhao Feng's left eye could see the flow of energy within the Silver Guard's body and it could predict the direction of its attacks. There were many times when Zhao Feng managed to dodge the Silver Guard's attacks. If he was hit, even if his silver wall technique had reached the max level, he would still be heavily injured. But Zhao Feng, who had his left eye, was able to control the situation. After running out of the mansion, the terrain was flat and wide, making it hard for Zhao Feng to use the terrain to deal with the silver guard. The distance between the silver guard and Zhao Feng was getting closer and closer. Once he was caught up and the other 4 guards at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm pounced on him, Zhao Feng would most likely die. Bang! A layer of faint azure blood appeared on Zhao Feng's body and he gave off a powerful aura. In an instant, Zhao Feng's energy, mind and body rose dramatically. Bloodline power was a power that even Zhao Feng couldn't fathom. But its use was very obvious. The same punch, Zhao Feng could use 3,000 to 4,000 kilograms of force, but if he merged it with his bloodline power, he could use 6 to 7 kilograms of force. At this point in time, Zhao Feng's speed exploded. So, Zhao Feng flew up, his speed almost doubled, even surpassing the silver armor guards who weren't good at speed. Although the silver guards were at the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm, their true speed was only faster than those at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng had traversed tens of yards in the air and he took out the Luoho bow and knocked a blue arrow onto it. In mid-air, he used his left eye to look at Quan Chen's situation. After Quan Chen had entered the treasury, he had triggered the array and was chased by 10 guards. The treasury was small and the number of guards that could enter was limited. Quan Chen was extremely smart and he blocked the entrance with a few guards, fighting as he tried to take the treasures. The treasures in the treasury gave off a pure and ancient aura, which made people's hearts beat faster. Pang! Quan Chen tried to take the treasures with his palm, but he was repelled by a layer of white light and was almost injured. Damn it! The treasures in the treasury are all protected by arrays. Quan Chen's face was dark. He had tried a few times, but he was restricted by the arrays and couldn't break through in a short amount of time. Luckily, his cultivation had increased after entering the trial and he had a middle-grade mortal weapon, which allowed him to easily kill a black guard at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng, that idiot, he's dead for sure after drawing so many guards away. Quan Chen felt better when he thought about Zhao Feng's ending. At the same time, outside the palace. So, a glowing blue arrow with a cold current pierced through the air. The surrounding temperature suddenly dropped, it was terrifyingly cold. The instant the Luoho bow was pulled, the ice lotus symbol on the bow suddenly lit up. After the light blue arrow was shot out, under the powerful cold energy, it turned into a sparkling and translucent ice arrow. Ding! The ice arrow hit the silver-armored guard and shattered. The blue ice fragments and mist scattered in all directions. With Zhao Feng's current strength, the arrow shot out by the Luoho bow couldn't break through the defense of the silver guards. Furthermore, these guards specialized in defense. The silver armor guard was unharmed and fiercely pounced towards Zhao Feng. However, the moment it moved, its body froze and its movements slowed down as a layer of ice formed over its body. With it as the center, a terrifying cold energy spread out to a radius of 4 to 5 feet. Dang! 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 The black guards behind them entered the range of the coldness and a layer of ice formed over their bodies. In just a breath's time, 4 black guards at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm had turned into ice statues. Only the silver guard could barely fight back. At this point in time, the silver guard and the 4 black guards were controlled by Zhao Feng. The effect was out of Zhao Feng's expectations. His left eye opened and he found that an invisible coldness was spreading through the mechanical parts of the guards and it soon reached the core. These guards weren't alive and there were many fine parts inside them. Once they were frozen, it would affect the transfer of energy. From the looks of it, the 4 black guards were sealed in ice and they wouldn't be able to break through for a while. On the other hand, the silver guard was still struggling. Even if it could break through the ice, its speed would be greatly restricted. Go! Zhao Feng didn't bother with these guards and he flew back to the palace. At the core of the palace, Quan Chen was in a stalemate with a few guards in the treasury. Luckily, these guards didn't have high intelligence, or else if they were to summon all the guards in the palace, unless one was at the true spirit realm, there would be no chance. Zhao Feng silently floated to a roof near the treasury and watched the show from above. As Zhao Feng returned, the black guards that hadn't caught up to him before also returned to the treasury. There was a total of 20 to 30 guards that were about to surround the treasury. Has that brat Zhao Feng been killed already? Quan Chen's expression changed as he circulated the weapon in his hand to the maximum and slashed out. 2 black guards in front of the door were sliced into pieces. Run! He quickly jumped out of the entrance and ran out of the mansion. However, just as he ran to the entrance of the mansion, a silver-armored guard with a chilling aura pressed in. Ah! Quan Chen looked at the silver-armored guards who were covered in frost and felt a chill run down his spine. Hee. When Quan Chen was being chased by the guards, a faint smile appeared on his face as he silently snuck into the treasury. At this moment, there wasn't a single guard nearby. Chapter 180. That blur was Zhao Feng. His plan was also perfect. The group of guards who had chased after him but failed returned to the collection room. Quan Chen didn't dare stay any longer, and if he ran away, he would attract the attention of all the guards nearby and be pincered from both sides. Zhao Feng had long since realized that the treasures and antiques within the treasury were all protected by arrays and couldn't be broken in a short amount of time. Therefore, he chose to attract the attention of the guards and let Quan Chen take the brunt of all the firepower. With his left eye, Zhao Feng was able to control everything. Whether it was the battlefield or the business world, nothing was more important than information. And Zhao Feng had more information than his opponents. Knowing yourself and knowing your enemy was the key to victory. Walking into the treasury, Zhao Feng's eyes were dazed for a moment before becoming excited. There were many treasures within the treasury. Some were weapons, while others were unique items such as paintings, maps, jewels, armors and other unknown items. But Zhao Feng's left eye was extremely sharp and he realized that almost every item within the treasury was made of unique materials. All the weapons within the treasury were at the spiritual grade and above. How could an item that could be placed together with a spirit-grade weapon and collected possibly be ordinary? It could be said that all the items within the treasury had the value of a spiritual-grade weapon. How could one not go crazy with jealousy? But, Zhao Feng's brow creased. He realized that every item in the cabinet was protected by a powerful array, and each of them was supported by an independent array. The power of the array was extremely strong and it was probably at the true spirit realm or even higher. The only flaw was that the array had been around for a long time and had lost more than half of its power. A few of the defensive arrays within the treasury even had flaws. Of course, normal people wouldn't be able to see the flaws of arrays. Only those that understood arrays or those like Zhao Feng, who had a powerful left eye, would be able to see them. The array within each treasury is extremely strong and has a certain recovery ability. With the strength of a cultivator at the 4th sky of the ascended realm, one should be able to succeed after 2 to 3 days. Zhao Feng analyzed. In order to confirm his conclusion, he condensed a palm and hit one of the cabinets. Pang! The cabinet lit up with a layer of white light, shaking Zhao Feng away. Fortunately, he was prepared and used the force to retreat. The attack of a cultivator at the 4th sky of the ascended realm had only dimmed the cabinet a little. But after a few breaths, the dimness returned to normal. Indeed, it will take 3 days. This was a cabinet with flaws. If it was someone without any flaws, it would probably take 10 days. It would be great if Yang Gan could cooperate with me or have other allies. Zhao Feng secretly sighed. If he had good allies, he could speed things up greatly. It was a pity that Quan Chen's life and death were unknown and he couldn't trust him at all. As for Yang Gan, Lin Fan and the others, they might be facing their own problems and they were all far away from each other. There was no other way. Zhao Feng only had one choice, to fight alone. There were benefits to this as well. He could keep all the spoils of war for himself. Next, Zhao Feng needed to choose his target. There were simply too many treasures in the treasury. There were weapons, spiritual-grade armors, accessories, etc. There were around a few hundred cabinets in the treasury and a small number of them were completely empty. Zhao Feng guessed that the treasury room was probably left behind by previous trial takers. Anyone who could enter the treasury and obtain treasures definitely wasn't a simple person. Among the hundreds of cabinets, 1/10 of them had some flaws in the array formation, which amounted to a few dozen. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned over them and he finally found a target. It was a broken cloak that was translucent. At first glance, it looked like a shadow. The instant he locked onto it, Zhao Feng's left eye twitched and his bloodline power gave him a familiar feeling. That tattered cloak exuded an ancient aura. In terms of aura, it wasn't even at the high tier of the mortal grade. It was similar to the Luo Ho Bao after it evolved. Such a cloak didn't seem to be of a high tier, so why would it be placed in the treasury with all the items of the spiritual grade and above? Zhao Feng was sure that this cloak wasn't simple or had a high value. Even if I get a spiritual grade weapon, it's useless to me. After the trial, I'll most likely have to hand it over to the clan. I might as well choose it. Zhao Feng made his decision. The level of a spiritual divine weapon was too high. For him, it was too far away. Legend had it that there was a type of legacy-grade weapon that was at least of the spiritual grade. It could ignore the user's cultivation and unleash the corresponding power according to the user's cultivation. In other words, the stronger the user was, the more power they could unleash until they reached the limit of this type of weapon. It was a pity that legacy-grade weapons were too rare and every one of them was a treasure that carried the weight of history. It was hard for there to be one legacy-grade weapon out of 10 weapons of the same grade. Pang! 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 Zhao Feng didn't slow down as he slammed his palms towards the cabinet. The cultivation technique he used was the lightning wind palm. He made use of this time to perfect this cultivation technique. With every palm strike, Zhao Feng was adjusting the circulation of the palm technique in his mind. Zhao Feng maintained the frequency of his attacks at 1 or 2 breaths of time to last longer. A moment later, Zhao Feng heard footsteps. It should be the guards returning. Those guards weren't fools. If they noticed anything unusual, they would definitely come to check. If only I could set up a soundproof array. Zhao Feng stopped and fell into deep thought. The soundproof array was a basic one and wasn't difficult to set up. But the problem was that Zhao Feng lacked the materials. This was the biggest limitation of an array master. Without the materials to set up the array, there was basically nothing they could do. Of course, if an array master prepared the array beforehand, they could easily slaughter a group of people stronger than them. Zhao Feng flipped through the storage bracelet. Ever since he got this bracelet, he had thrown all his luggage inside. It's a pity that I'm short of 2 materials. Zhao Feng shook his head. He had tried his best to think of a replacement, but he was still short of 2 materials. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng heard a faint noise as a figure came from afar and landed on the roof opposite the treasury. Zhao Feng, you're still alive. Quan Chen stood on the roof and his voice was filled with shock and hatred. Zhao Feng's movements froze as he frowned his eyebrows. It seemed that he had underestimated Quan Chen. Looking closely, Quan Chen had a few bandages on his body. His hair was messy and his clothes were torn, as if he had been raped. His eyes were filled with hatred, as if he wanted to skin Zhao Feng alive. Shua! Quan Chen's figure flashed as he charged towards the treasury with killing intent. His target wasn't the treasures in the treasury, but Zhao Feng. Kill Zhao Feng first, then think about the treasures. Zhao Feng snickered as he blocked the entrance of the treasury and used his lightning wind palm. Waning moon flying blade. The sword in Quan Chen's hand suddenly danced and 4 or 5 arcs of light locked onto Zhao Feng from different angles. Boom! Zhao Feng's palm pounced forward, but he was forced back a few steps by the cold sword. With Quan Chen's weapon, his strength had increased and his cultivation was higher than Zhao Feng's. His chilling moon technique had reached the 4th level. I'll take your life first. Quan Chen had decided to kill Zhao Feng no matter what. This might be his last chance. Wind Lightning Annihilation. Zhao Feng pushed his true force and palm technique to the maximum, and the sound of thunder was even louder than before. However, Quan Chen had a mid-grade mortal weapon, so his attacks were even fiercer. In desperation, Zhao Feng secretly circulated part of his bloodline power and mixed it into his true force, so it wasn't too obvious. However, the power of his palm technique increased. Boom! Boom! The sound of thunder became louder and louder. Zhao Feng felt that his lightning wind palm had reached the max level and was about to break through a certain barrier. At the same time, some of the profundities of the floating crest lightning seal entered his comprehension. Wind Lightning Raging Dragon. Zhao Feng roared, and the instant he thrust out his palm, arcs of lightning could be seen in the form of a snake dragon that seemed to take the shape of a lightning dragon. What? The power of lightning! Quan Chen's expression changed dramatically. The instant the two weapons clashed, he was hit by a domineering power and his body went numb. The fourth level of the lightning wind palm could create lightning arcs that could cause numbness to the target. However, after Zhao Feng merged a bit of the floating crest lightning seal into it, lightning could be seen with the naked eye and the skill's power was far greater than before. Boom! Paw! Paw! Zhao Feng pushed Quan Chen out of the treasury. At the same time, the nearby black-armored guards all rushed over. Quan Chen could only avoid the attack and said hatefully, "I don't believe you'll be able to stay in there forever." "Huh, where do you think you're going?" Zhao Feng took out his Luo Hobao, knocked an arrow and shot towards the entrance. Shua, a blue ice arrow shot through the air, bringing with it a terrifying coldness as it stabbed towards Quan Chen. Quan Chen knew how terrifying Zhao Feng's archery skills were, so he instantly formed a protective layer of true force and rolled on the ground. Shua! The ice arrow brushed past his shoulder and hit a guard next to him. There was no blood on Quan Chen's shoulder, but a cold aura spread out and a layer of ice formed on his body. Crack! The ice arrow broke and the cold aura spread out in a few yards radius. In a breath's time, Quan Chen and 4 or 5 guards nearby were all sealed in ice, blocking the entrance. Looking at the lifelike ice sculptures, Zhao Feng's left eye pierced through the ice and saw Quan Chen's true force surge as if he was trying to break the ice. A cold smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face as he drew the Luo Hobao once again. Shua, another blue ice arrow hit the ice seal at the entrance. The power of the ice arrow also froze the other guards who were rushing over. In just a few short breaths, 10 ice sculptures stood at the entrance of the storage room, forming a small ice mountain that completely blocked the entrance. Huh, great! Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Zhao Feng couldn't help but laugh. The small ice mountain at the entrance became a huge obstacle that prevented the guards nearby from getting close. The moment they got close, they would be sealed in ice. The cold energy released by the explosion of the 2 ice arrows was extraordinary. Zhao Feng's left eye pierced through the ice and saw Quan Chen's true force, blood, and life. Chapter 181. 10 lifelike human-shaped ice sculptures were sealed together, forming a small ice mountain that emitted bone-chilling cold air. This included Quan Chen, who was at the center of the ice layer, who was in a desperate situation. Zhao Feng estimated that Quan Chen's body would be frozen in half a day to 2 to 3 days before he would die. With Quan Chen's cultivation not even at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm, he wouldn't be able to break through the power of the 2 arrows. Only Yang Gan would have the ability to break through the ice. Although the damage of the ice arrows hasn't increased, the effects have exceeded my expectations. Zhao Feng nodded his head with a smile. The current situation was good for Zhao Feng. The small ice mountain had sealed the entrance of the treasury, turning it into a powerful wall. Zhao Feng didn't need to set up a soundproof array, so he could do whatever he wanted in the treasury. With a flash, Zhao Feng arrived in front of a cabinet. The tattered cloak in the cabinet was translucent like a shadow. It exuded a mysterious and simple aura that made one's heart beat faster. After the delay just now, the energy of the array covering the cabinet had recovered, and Zhao Feng was about to start attacking again. Pang! Zhao Feng thrust out his palm and lightning flashed, causing the cabinet to shake slightly and the array's power to dim slightly. After comprehending a bit of the floating crest lightning seal, Zhao Feng's lightning wind palm had reached the high level. The fifth level of the lightning wind palm was at the high level and its power greatly increased. At this level, the palm could cause lightning to rumble and it could numb the opponent within its range. To reach this level, one needed to comprehend a bit of the power of lightning. If it wasn't for the floating crest lightning seal, Zhao Feng would have needed a long time to train his lightning wind palm to this level. Pang! Pang! The frequency of Zhao Feng's attacks wasn't high and he didn't use his full power, but the power of each attack could easily defeat those at the fourth sky. The fifth level of the lightning wind palm is indeed powerful, and after merging the floating crest lightning seal, it's like adding wings to a tiger. Zhao Feng could feel the power of lightning in each palm. Every palm strike contained lightning arcs and thunder that could numb the opponent. For those with weak foundations, one palm from Zhao Feng could numb the opponent's body. Under the barrage of attacks, Zhao Feng continued to perfect the lightning wind palm in his mind. The lightning wind palm was a crude skill, and the creator of this skill hadn't had the time to perfect it. Zhao Feng had been trying to perfect it, but his progress was average. Now that he had the floating crest lightning seal as a reference, his progress was leaps and bounds. While perfecting it, the danger of the lightning wind palm decreased, but its power increased. This meant that the fifth level of the lightning wind palm was much more powerful than others after being perfected by Zhao Feng. In the battle just then, he had used this to force Quan Chen back. One had to know that Quan Chen's cultivation was close to the peak fourth sky and he had a middle-grade mortal weapon. But under this situation, he was still forced back by Zhao Feng. From this, one could see the power of the lightning wind palm. If Zhao Feng used his bloodline power, he could even kill Quan Chen with one palm. Pang! Pang! Zhao Feng's attacks were at a steady pace, and every time he attacked, the array's power would dim a little. At the same time, the array would automatically repair itself and resist Zhao Feng's destructive power. But overall, the array's power was slowly weakening. With each attack, Zhao Feng continued to perfect the lightning wind palm, decreasing the danger of this skill and increasing its power. Of course, there was a limit to his stamina. Every half an hour, Zhao Feng would take a break, and every 4 hours, he would take a small sip of spiritual wine or spiritual pills. In the blink of an eye, 2 to 3 days had passed. Pang! Crack! The thunderous palm strike struck the power of the spell formation, shattering the white light layer by layer. Zhao Feng was overjoyed as he quickly took out the tattered cloak from the cabinet. Although the array had been broken, according to Zhao Feng's understanding, the array would slowly repair itself so that the cabinet would be protected once more. Zhao Feng inspected the dark gray cloak and injected some true force into it to study it. The cloak didn't change much after injecting a small amount of true force, but it seemed to become more transparent. Zhao Feng put it on his back and injected more true force as well as some bloodline power, causing the cloak to become more transparent. Suddenly, an invisible aura surrounded Zhao Feng's body. Zhao Feng's body felt light, as if he had turned into air. He used his left eye to observe and realized that the light around him was distorted, affecting his vision. Invisibility. Zhao Feng's eyes flashed as he spat out 2 words. In the eyes of other living beings, Zhao Feng was transparent. He didn't think that the cloak would have such a special ability. Other than that, when the cloak's power flowed, Zhao Feng's body became as light as a leaf as he was buffed by a special power. Shwa! A ghostly figure flashed in the treasury room a few feet away. Zhao Feng felt his movement speed increase and his body became more agile. After some research, Zhao Feng understood that the cloak had the ability to increase speed and invisibility. But for some reason, when he injected true force into the cloak, it didn't have any obvious effect. Only when he injected his bloodline power could it unleash its full potential. Maybe it's because the cloak itself is tattered. Zhao Feng didn't think much about it. He estimated that in a few more hours, the 10-day time limit for the third trial would be up. At that time, all the disciples would be hunted down by the black metal monsters. No one would be able to block an attack from someone at the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng scanned the treasury room and sighed as he walked out. The ice mountain at the entrance had weakened greatly. Zhao Feng's expression changed dramatically as he looked at it. Lightning wind palm. Zhao Feng's full-force palm smashed into the ice mountain. Lightning crackled and lightning flashed. Crack! The ice mountain shattered and most of the armored guards that were sealed in ice also shattered. However, there was nothing in the center of the ice. Quan Chen's figure was nowhere to be seen. This floating crest trial is really a righteous trial. Isn't this too merciful? Once a disciple is on the verge of death, the floating crest token in their body will teleport them out. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he analyzed the cause and effect. There was a floating crest token in every disciple's body. This way, the only way to kill a disciple was to kill them with overwhelming power, such as killing them in an instant. Over the past few days, Zhao Feng had been attacking the array and perfecting the lightning wind palm in his mind, so he didn't pay much attention to the outside world. He didn't know when Quan Chen had disappeared. Oh well, that Quan Chen is just a clown. With my current strength, killing him shouldn't be hard at all. Zhao Feng's figure flashed as he headed out of the building. Who? The cloak on his back fluttered and a mysterious power enveloped his body. In a flash, Zhao Feng's aura became obscure, like a transparent shadow. Most of the guards in the building couldn't sense Zhao Feng's existence at all. The tattered cloak could make Zhao Feng invisible. If he moved quickly, he would only be seen as a shadow. At this point in time, Zhao Feng's speed was comparable to the fifth sky of the Ascended Realm. More importantly, to activate the power of the cloak, it only required the power of the blood meridians as a primer to activate it, after which it could be maintained with true power. It could be used continuously. I'll call it the Yin Shadow Cloak. Zhao Feng calmly left the building as if there was no one around. As soon as he left the castle, Zhao Feng suddenly felt an unknown pressure, as if something terrifying was staring at him. At the same instant, the disciples in the Sky Boundary Island, Yang Gan, Bei Mua, Ran Xiaoyuan, all felt a sense of danger. The invisible pressure caused the hearts of the trial disciples to skip a beat. Was the pursuit about to begin? Zhao Feng murmured to himself as he scanned his surroundings with his left eye. Suddenly, a ripple appeared 10 yards away and a terrifying aura appeared out of nowhere, making it hard for him to breathe. Wang! A dazzling white door of light appeared 100 feet away, and a huge blurry figure slowly walked out from it. Taking a closer look, it was a metal monster with a pair of wings on its back. It was 3 stories tall, and its eyes were a deep green. Its entire body was surrounded by a layer of dark green light. Its tyrannical aura was like a storm, rushing in all directions. Run! Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly as he flew off into the distance. The black metal monster roared and the sound made Zhao Feng's heart jump. The wings on the black metal monster's back flapped and it leapt into the air towards Zhao Feng. Pursuit! A pursuit from someone at the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng felt a suffocating pressure and he turned into a blur as he ran off into the distance. Luckily, the black metal monster's initial speed was comparable to those at the second sky of the Ascended Realm, which was slightly faster than the first stage. Luckily, it's not that fast. Zhao Feng let out a breath. If the black metal monster's speed was too fast, no one would be able to last half a day even if they were on par with the cultivators. Being at the true spirit realm, the black metal monster's true force would be dozens of times denser than the cultivators and it would be able to chase them for a couple of months. In just a while, Zhao Feng had lost the black metal monster. But if he paused for even a second, the black metal monster would soon catch up. What was even scarier was that Zhao Feng could feel that the black metal monster's speed was increasing as time passed. The longer the last stage, the stronger the pursuit will be. This means that the black metal monster's speed can reach the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. There were many treasures on the Sky Boundary Island, but the trial wouldn't allow you to find treasures without any pressure. At the same time, the remaining disciples on the Sky Boundary Island were all being chased within the ancient garden. They're still here, but unfortunately, Bainmoi's figure jumped out of a dark green palace and he ran around in circles. Behind him, the black metal monster chased relentlessly. Its terrifying aura scared away the nearby demonic beasts. It was unstoppable. At this moment, Bainmoi's aura was extremely strong. 2 days ago, he had broken through to the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm, but he could only run. Tall Tower Forest. Yang Gan, who was half a step into the sixth sky of the Ascended Realm, could only run. Facing those at the true spirit realm, no matter if they were at the fourth or sixth sky, they would be instantly killed without a doubt. All the disciples on the Sky Boundary Island were forced to run for their lives. In the trial, the longer you survive, the better your result will be. The final charge had just begun. Chapter 182. At the entrance of the Floating Crest Palace. The 5 elders sat cross-legged on the ground and were silent for a long time. In the blink of an eye, 18 days had passed in the Floating Crest trial. Ever since the 8th day, no one had been eliminated. 18 days. It should be the final stage now. First elder slowly said. The 5 at the true spirit realm had solemn expressions. Granny Luyue and the Broken Moon clan master's eyes were filled with worry. According to past experience, even in the best generation, at least half of the people would be eliminated, and most of the time, there would only be 2 or 3 people left. But this generation, there were 7 disciples left, and none of them had been eliminated. There must be something that affected the trial. Maybe it's for the best, or maybe it's for the worst. Hai Yun Master said calmly. As long as the Floating Crest Palace hasn't closed, it means that there are still survivors inside. Elder Shui sighed softly. His disciple, Sun Yuanhao, had already been kicked out, so he didn't have much hope for the trial. The only thing he couldn't forget was Zhao Feng, the person who had kicked his disciple out. Right at this moment. Wang! An azure light flashed at the entrance. The eyes of the 5 at the true spirit realm lit up as joy appeared on their faces. Someone had finally come out. In their vision, a cold figure appeared on the stairs. Chen Er? Hai Yun Master didn't know if he was happy or surprised. The person who had been eliminated was his disciple, Quan Chen. There weren't any injuries on Quan Chen's body, but he kept on shivering. Master! Tears filled Quan Chen's eyes as he fell onto the ground with a plop. Let me. Granny Luyue waved her hand and a warm green true force entered Quan Chen's body. Soon, the coldness in Quan Chen's body was dissolved. What pure coldness! It seems to have the aura of an ancient bloodline. Luckily, it's very weak. Granny Luyue was shocked. Chen Er, what happened to you? Why did you end up like this? Hai Yun Master asked. Hatred could be seen in Quan Chen's eyes as he gritted his teeth. It's Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng? The elders exchanged glances with one another. Why is it related to Zhao Feng again? It wasn't easy for this disciple to conquer the core of an ancient castle, but that Zhao Feng intervened midway. This disciple had no choice but to join forces with him. Who would have thought that this guy would be so shameless as to stab me in the back? Quan Chen's eyes were about to spit fire as if he wanted to tear Zhao Feng apart. It was that Zhao Feng again. The elders were enraged. This Zhao Feng, just how many people does he want to kill before he's satisfied? Elder Shui was enraged as he released his true spirit aura, which made Quan Chen's heart jump. Could it be that this Zhao Feng has offended someone else? The elders, including the patriarch, were enraged. How could there be such a scum in the sect? Only the first elder frowned slightly, his expression still rather calm. We'll investigate these grudges after the trial ends. The most important thing now is to figure out the situation in the trial. The gazes of the patriarch and the others all turned towards Quan Chen. Right now, everyone wanted to know the situation of the others in the floating crest trial. Quan Chen immediately told them what had happened in the trial. Of course, he described some of Zhao Feng's actions. For example, when a fellow disciple was poisoned, Zhao Feng didn't help them and even mocked them. For example, this shameless bastard had stolen his scarlet blood fruit. Every time Quan Chen mentioned Zhao Feng's actions, the eyebrows of the elders would furrow. As for Zhao Feng's actions, Quan Chen didn't mention a single word. It's incredible that all 7 of you passed the second stage. The 5 true spirit realm experts let out a breath. After confirming that all 7 disciples had passed the third stage, the elders were overjoyed. As for why they could pass the second stage, Quan Chen's explanation was teamwork. According to your description, the second stage was extremely dangerous. Even if you all worked together, it would be hard for all of you to pass without any casualties. There must be another reason. First elder's eyes twinkled as he grasped the key point. The other elders faintly nodded their heads. They knew more about the floating crest trial than the other disciples. Maybe there's another reason. That shameless bastard, Zhao Feng, somehow got lucky and comprehended a mental energy sound wave that could counter those bats. Quan Chen stuttered and didn't give a clear answer. Mental energy sound wave? A light flashed in First Elder's eyes as he exchanged glances with the patriarch. With their experience, how could they not see the flaws in Quan Chen's description? Oh right, Chen what did you get from the trial? What's the reward? Hai Yun Master smiled and changed the topic. Hearing this, the elders all revealed expressions of interest. Quan Chen was someone who had passed the third stage after all, so there should be some rewards. Disciple's score was 150 trial points, which I exchanged for a high-class mortal skill. Apart from that, I also got some resources and weapons. Quan Chen handed over his rewards. The high-class mortal skill was the final reward. His other gains, such as heaven and earth spiritual objects, divine weapons, and tools, were all pretty good. Of course, he didn't get any high-class mortal weapons or higher, but he used a few of the valuable resources that he could use. 150 trial points, this result is not bad. To be able to get a high-class mortal skill, you've contributed a lot to the clan. Quan Chen praised. There weren't many high-class mortal skills in the entire clan. An additional mortal level upper-tier cultivation technique would also increase the strength of the sect. 150 trial points. In all the previous trials, this result has always been above average. First Elder nodded his head with a smile. The elders were full of expectations for the remaining disciples. A total of 7 people had lasted until the end of the trial. This was the first time in the past 100 years. If Quan Chen could have such a great harvest, then the rest of the disciples would probably have even greater gains as well. It's been 18 days. In the past 10 floating crest trial, only brother Hai Yun was able to last more than a month. Granny Luyue smiled with a red face. Hai Yun Master had broken the floating crest trials record in the past 100 years. In the past tens of years, he was the only one who had lasted more than a month. This was an extremely good result. But this time's momentum had exceeded their expectations and they might even have the chance to break Hai Yun Master's record. Anticipation. The elders were filled with excitement and eagerness. What would be the highest score this time? Could it break Hai Yun Master's record? Including Hai Yun Master, he had an expectant look on his face. Bei moi, don't disappoint me. Floating crest trial, Sky Boundary Island. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Zhao Feng's figure was stable as he flew across the ice mountains. He used half of his original speed and easily left the black metal monster far behind. This monster's speed is becoming faster and faster. Zhao Feng's figure stopped as he felt the pressure. According to his estimations, the black metal monster's speed would reach the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm by the 5th day of chasing. Once one's speed reached the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm, even Yang Gan, who was the strongest in the trial, wouldn't be able to survive. Because the black metal monster had reached the true spirit realm, it wouldn't run out of energy or need to rest. And the disciples needed to rest and recover their energy. This meant that the speed of the black metal monster reaching the fourth sky would be a huge difference. Furthermore, some of the disciples hadn't reached the fourth sky and they wouldn't be able to last until the fifth day. The first day, the second day, the third day, the disciples on the sky boundary island felt more and more pressure. The black metal monster didn't know tiredness and it didn't need to recover. On the third day, both Lu Yu and Lin Fan were struggling. Their cultivations were both at the third sky and the black metal monster's speed wasn't much slower than theirs. As for the others, Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan had both reached the fourth sky. The strongest, Yang Gan, was half a step into the sixth sky of the ascended realm. The results of this trial had exceeded everyone's expectations, and it had squeezed out the potential of many trial takers. If this continues, the black metal monster's speed will be able to catch up to me on the seventh day. Zhao Feng's eyebrows locked together. He realized that if he continued to run, he wouldn't be able to escape. Vaguely, he had a different train of thought. Instead of being chased, why not kill the enemy first? If it was anyone else, they would only have one choice in front of someone at the true spirit realm, and that was to run. Because facing someone at the true spirit realm head-on meant death. But running was a passive option. Furthermore, the black metal monster's speed would become faster and sooner or later, they would have to face it. I'll kill the black metal monster. A terrifying thought appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Rather than passively running away, it was better to nip the danger in the bud. Right at this moment, the black metal monster's shadow flapped its wings and approached from afar. The terrifying aura made it hard for Zhao Feng to breathe. Zhao Feng thought, there are some extremely dangerous existences in the sky boundary island. Even those at the true spirit realm might die if they're not careful. Thinking up to here, he suddenly changed direction. Destination, Dragon Snake Ice River. Zhao Feng's speed increased dramatically as he secretly circulated the Yin Shadow Cloak and headed towards the pond where the blue crystal tear was. Although his Yin Shadow Cloak could make him invisible, it couldn't hide from existences at the true spirit realm. Furthermore, he had the floating crest token in his body. No matter how fast he ran, he wouldn't be able to escape from the black metal monster. 4 hours later, a cold pond appeared in front of him. The water within the pond was a weird blue and the surroundings were filled with ice and snow. Zhao Feng came near the pond and felt the coldness almost freeze his life force. He circulated his bloodline power and took out the Luoho Bao, only to feel the coldness decrease by half. A part of the coldness was blocked by his bloodline power while the other part was absorbed by the Luoho Bao. The blue symbol on the bow was like an ice lotus that gave off a faint blue light. Zhao Feng stood near the pond and waited silently. He took a deep breath and glanced at the pond. Only he knew that there was a forbidden existence within the pond that had turned the entire sky boundary island into a world of ice and snow. What kind of power was this? The terrifying aura from the black metal monster came closer and closer. It's coming! The black metal monster roared savagely as it entered his field of vision. Zhao Feng's azure hair danced in the wind and the Yin Shadow Cloak behind him fluttered with the wind, giving off an ancient and mysterious aura. The struggling black metal monster's body froze, and the enormous power inside its body froze. Retreat! Zhao Feng felt a familiar and terrifying coldness. He pushed his bloodline power and the dark shadow cloak to the limit and turned into a translucent shadow that soared into the sky, fleeing higher and further away. As soon as Zhao Feng left the freezing pond, a heart-shaking aura of coldness spread. In the air, a layer of cold air spread out hundreds of yards with the pond as the center. Zhao Feng had already flown hundreds of meters into the air, but he could still feel the terrifying coldness, which made his body tremble. Luckily, he had bloodline power and the Luoho Bao could absorb a portion of the coldness. With the help of the Yin Shadow Cloak, Zhao Feng could fly for a longer distance in the air. He flew 1 to 2 miles in one breath before landing on the ground. Flying 1 to 2 miles was comparable to flying. If it wasn't for the Ying's shadow cloak and bloodline power, Zhao Feng wouldn't have been able to do this. After escaping from danger, Zhao Feng let out a long breath and looked towards the direction of the pond. In the cold pond, there was a deathly silence. Zhao Feng could imagine that the black metal monster would be sealed in ice by the freezing pond and fall into an eternal slumber. At the same time, the entire Sky Boundary Island's climate worsened. Just then, the temperature of the Sky Boundary Island dropped by tens of degrees, and water turning into ice wasn't enough to describe it. One had to be at least at the third sky of the Ascended Realm to be able to resist the coldness. Only those at the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm or higher could withstand it. Why did the temperature drop again? 100 miles away, Beimua, who was being chased by the black metal monster, had a weird look on his face. Beimua's eyebrows furrowed. He had experienced this situation 10 days ago. He had a feeling that it wasn't the Sky Boundary Island itself, but someone else's. Being close to the Earth's spiritual body, he was more sensitive to the changes in the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi than others. The other disciples that were being chased, with Yanggan as their leader, all felt the weather worsen. Lin Fan and Lu Yu, who had lower cultivations, felt it harder and harder. Correspondingly, most of the demonic beasts on the Heavenly Boundary Island either died or hid in their nests due to the low temperature. No one could have expected that at this moment, a monstrous existence would directly cause the invincible black iron behemoth to fall into an eternal slumber. I've killed the danger. What can this last trial do to me? Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Without the pursuit of the giant black metal monster, he relaxed and returned to the previous castle. In the treasury room of the mansion. With the cover of the Ying's shadow cloak, Zhao Feng was familiar with the terrain. There were hundreds of cabinets in the treasury. Zhao Feng chose his second target. Should I get a divine weapon this time? Zhao Feng smiled. There were many weapons in the treasury and most of them were at the spiritual grade. In the Broken Moon clan, they would be the treasures of the clan. But after thinking about it, Zhao Feng rejected the idea. A spiritual grade weapon was too far for him at his current level. Even if they managed to obtain a spirit grade divine weapon, they would most likely have to hand it over to the sect. Keeping it in their hands would only be a hot potato, and it would only bring disaster upon them. According to what Zhao Feng knew, many cultivators at the true spirit realm didn't even have a spiritual grade weapon. If he, a disciple at the Ascended Realm, had a spiritual grade weapon, he would be courting death. Therefore, Zhao Feng rejected the idea and looked for another target. What's this? Zhao Feng's gaze landed on a relatively large cabinet. Inside the cabinet were some metal parts such as a head, arm, armor, all of them were gold. Zhao Feng simulated them in his mind and instantly formed a golden armor guard. It was similar to the silver and black armor guards in the palace, but the material and appearance were more exquisite. How strong are these golden armor guards? If I can put them together, can they be used by me? Zhao Feng thought. He had a lot of knowledge in his mind and he had some guesses as to where these guards came from. Among the many ancient inheritances, there was one known as the puppet inheritance. The guards in the mansion should all be mechanical puppets. Mechanical puppets were puppets that could be controlled by humans through special array patterns and energy cores, combined with high-grade materials. Since they're puppets, they don't have their own intelligence. As long as they have an energy core, they can be controlled. Zhao Feng thought for a while before shaking his head and giving up. Mechanical puppets were, in the end, external objects. Zhao Feng resisted the temptation of borrowing external power. Even if he analyzed that the golden armor guard's strength was at least at the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm, it might even be able to fight against those at the true spirit realm. Looking around, Zhao Feng found another target. It was a gray hatched egg about the size of a fist. The surface of the eggshell was engraved with a layer of strange patterns. Zhao Feng opened his left eye, but he couldn't see through the egg. What was even more unbelievable was that he could faintly feel a faint aura of life within the egg. There's still an aura of life? If it wasn't for his left eye, Zhao Feng wouldn't have believed it. The Floating Crest Palace had existed for a long time. For the Broken Moon clan, this palace had at least 10,000 years of history. It was hard to imagine that there was still an aura of life within this egg after more than 10,000 years. I'll give it a try. In any case, I'm not being hunted at the moment. Although there are no obvious flaws in the formation of this cabinet, with my current strength, I should be able to resolve it in 6 to 7 days. Zhao Feng murmured to himself. Chapter 184. Pang Pang. Pang Pang. Zhao Feng circulated his lightning wind palm and lightning flashed and thunder boomed as his attacks landed on the cabinet again and again. This cabinet didn't have any obvious flaws in the array and it had a strong self-recovery ability. The gray-hatched egg in the cabinet was not damaged in the slightest by the repeated attacks. At the start, Zhao Feng was still cautious, but after observing and attacking, he found that the egg was tougher than he had expected. If it was a normal egg, Zhao Feng's lightning wind palm would be able to shatter it. However, this was an egg that had existed for tens of thousands of years and it still had an aura of life, so it couldn't be measured by normal standards. At the entrance of the collection room, several lifelike human-shaped ice sculptures blocked the entrance. At this moment, there was no outside force that could disturb Zhao Feng. The biggest threat had been killed by him and he could now reap the spoils of war without any worries. In the entire Floating Crest trial, probably only Zhao Feng could do this so easily. The other trial disciples were all scared out of their wits by the black iron behemoths. They ran all over the map and didn't have the time to look for fortuitous encounters. On the 4th day of the trial, there were already people who couldn't hold on any longer. At this moment, the speed of the black metal monsters had reached the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. Lin Fan and Lu Yu, who were both at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm, were panting from exhaustion. In this extreme pursuit, their speed was pushed to the maximum and their speed was comparable to the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. However, no matter how fast they increased their speed, they still used up a lot of energy. The black metal monsters didn't need to rest and they didn't know exhaustion. At the True Spirit Realm, they didn't need to use up any energy at all. Those at the True Spirit Realm could absorb the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi from the outside world to replenish their energy. On the other hand, those at the Ascended Realm were at the Ascended Realm, but they could only communicate with the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi from the outside world to refine their true force. The difference between the two realms was huge. On the 4th day, Lu Yu and Lin Fan were both eliminated. The instant they were attacked by the black metal monsters, an azure light enveloped their bodies. Lin Fan's face turned red, and his breathing became difficult. The true power and blood in his body seemed to have frozen, and he could not move at all. Persevering until here is already my limit, Lin Fan closed his eyes. In reality, being able to reach this step was already an achievement that exceeded one's imagination. In the previous trials, it could be considered as an excellent result. For some unknown reason, at the moment of life and death, a figure appeared in Lin Fan's mind. It was a green-haired evil-looking young man. Ever since he entered the trial, he had been calm and collected. I wonder how he is right now, Lin Fan muttered in his heart. Buzz, the floating crest token in his body let out a weird sound as a transparent azure glow covered it. Then, Lin Fan disappeared. The black metal monster that was chasing him also stepped into the light door and disappeared. Floating Crest Palace, entrance of the stairs. Lu Yu and Lin Fan walked out of the Floating Crest Palace. Granny Lu Yue was overjoyed. Seeing that Lu Yu was safe, she heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Yu and Lin Fan both lasted for 22 days and their results were better than Quan Chen's. First, Lu Yu's score was 178, while Quan Chen's was only 150. The trial result, 178. This is already a pretty good result. It's close to the previous first place. Granny Lu Yue praised. After all, Lu Yu's cultivation was the lowest amongst the disciples. Lu Yu's gains were the same as Quan Chen's, but her cultivation was lower, so she wasn't as good as Quan Chen in terms of fortune. Lin Fan lasted an hour longer than Lu Yu, and when he exited, his cultivation was close to the peak third sky of the ascended realm. Lin Fan, what's your score? Granny Lu Yue smiled and asked. Lin Fan's status was the lowest amongst the disciples. Most of the other trial disciples had sect experts at the elder level behind them. 326, Lin Fan carefully reported his score. What? Hearing this, the expressions of the elders changed dramatically. 326. You're not joking. Haiyun Master stared at Lin Fan, and his powerful true spirit aura made the latter's breathing slow. 326. This score far surpassed the previous first place. In the past, the geniuses that lasted a few days longer than Lin Fan didn't even have such a high score. Disciple didn't lie, my score is indeed 326. Lin Fan took a deep breath. Immediately after, Lin Fan reported the source of his points. First test, 20 points. Second test, 30 points. The third trial, surviving the pursuit for 4 days, the reward was 40 trial points. Apart from that, overall score, 236 points. Overall score, 326. How is this possible? How can your overall score be so high? Lu Yu said in disbelief. Her score was only 80 to 90 points, but Lin Fan's score was more than double hers. However, Lin Fan's results were even better than Lu Yu's and Quan Chen's. Lin Fan had obtained a high-grade mortal weapon and exchanged it for a peak-grade mortal skill. His other gains were also more than Lu Yu's. Peak-grade mortal skill. The elders all took in a deep breath and completely believed in Lin Fan. On the continent, spiritual skills were almost extinct, and even those at the true spirit realm might not be able to learn them. In this way, the value of a mortal-level top-rank cultivation technique was exceptionally high. Lin Fan, you've made a great contribution to the clan by obtaining a peak-grade mortal skill. If you give this skill to the clan, you'll be able to learn it for free, and the clan will reward you with a large amount of contribution points as well as other compensation. Once a skill reached the high-grade mortal grade, words and paper wouldn't be able to contain its meaning. It was usually done by merging the skill, intent and scene into something. The peak-grade mortal skill that Lin Fan had obtained was the same. If he gave it to the clan, he would be able to learn it for free and exchange it for a large amount of contribution points. The more valuable spoils of war from the Floating Crest trial were given to the clan and would receive a large amount of compensation. Lin Fan didn't complain because the Floating Crest Palace belonged to the clan, and without the help of an elder at the True Spirit Realm, it couldn't be opened. Lin Fan, why is your score so much higher than yours? Granny Lu Yue asked. That's because, Lin Fan fell into a short memory. In the third trial, he had met Zhao Feng and received pointers from him. He had indeed gone to the mountain valley and had some experiences in a weird village. In the end, he had obtained a floating crest seal. This floating crest seal didn't have anything special about it, but it could be exchanged for 100 points. Therefore, Lin Fan had an advantage of 100 points compared to the other participants. Disciple accidentally fell into a mountain valley in a small village. Lin Fan was very smart and didn't mention Zhao Feng. There was something fishy about this matter. It was Zhao Feng's secret, and he was just sharing it with them. Without Zhao Feng's permission, he wouldn't tell anyone else. Your talent is average, but your luck is good. If you work hard, you might be able to achieve great things. The Broken Moon clan master nodded her head and smiled. With Lu Yu and Lin Fan being eliminated, there were only 4 people left in the Floating Crest trial. Yang Gan, Bei Mua, Ran Xiaoyuan and Zhao Feng. In the last 10 trials, the one with the best result was Brother Yunhai, but he only got 400 points. This time, there's a high chance that he'll break the record. The eyes of the Broken Moon clan master and the elders were filled with expectation. The remaining 4 disciples represented the sect master, first elder, and Haiyun elder. This was especially so for First Elder. Both of his disciples hadn't been eliminated. The one with the highest cultivation, Yang Gan, was also a disciple of First Elder. Of course, there was also the one with the lowest cultivation, Zhao Feng, who was also a disciple of First Elder. First Elder, this time, Yang Gan has a high chance of breaking the record. Granny Lu Yue said respectfully. I hope so. First Elder's expression didn't change, but his heart was filled with expectation. Looking at the current situation, Yang Gan had the highest chance of getting first and even breaking Hai Yun Master's 100-year record. As for the one with the lowest cultivation, Zhao Feng, the disciple that the elders had the worst impression of, he was completely ignored. First Elder was at most surprised that this brat could last until now. Only one person had a different opinion. That was Lin Fan. Lin Fan had a strange feeling that junior apprentice brother Zhao's trial results would definitely be very high. Apart from instinct, there was another reason. He remembered that Zhao Feng was the only one who resisted the temptation of fortune and didn't immediately take action. Instead, he searched the entire Sky Boundary Island. Just this point alone showed that his vision and ambition far surpassed that of the other trial takers. Floating Crest Trial. Time passed by slowly. On the 5th day of the pursuit and the 23rd day of the trial, no one was eliminated. On the 6th day, no one was eliminated. At this moment, the black metal monster's speed had reached the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. The 4th sky of the Ascended Realm had exceeded the average cultivation of the disciples. After reaching this speed, the black metal monster finally calmed down. Yang Gan, Bei Mua and Ran Xiaoyuan all had good fortune in the trial to replenish their true force and yuan qi. Amongst them, Ran Xiaoyuan's cultivation was close to the peak 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. But the black metal monster chasing after her didn't know fatigue and didn't need to rest. On the 7th day of the pursuit, Ran Xiaoyuan had reached her limit. In the end, she was hit by the giant black iron monster. She was enveloped by the cyan light, and her figure disappeared from the trial. Her luck was only average. Ran Xiaoyuan appeared at the entrance of the Floating Crest Palace. Xiaoyuan. The Broken Moon Clan master let out a long breath. Ran Xiaoyuan's score was 335, slightly higher than Lin Fan's score. Not bad, not bad. 335 is even higher than the first place in the previous trials. First Elder said with a smile. This time's Floating Crest trial had broken a new record. The 4th place was higher than the previous first place. It was hard to imagine what the top 3 would do. There are 3 people left in the trial, Yang Gan, Bei Mua and Zhao Feng. The Broken Moon Clan master's eyebrows furrowed when she mentioned the last person. None of the elders present, including the clan master, had a good impression of Zhao Feng. Especially in the eyes of Elder Shui and Elder Hai Yun, Zhao Feng's impression was even worse. But this brat's luck wasn't just good, he had reached the top 3. Chapter 185. Floating Crest Trial. The Last Charge. The pursuit of those at the true spirit realm was endless. Even someone as strong as Yang Gan, who had reached the peak 5th sky of the Ascended Realm and was half a step into the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm, felt tired. The 8th day of the pursuit, the 26th day of the trial. Yang Gan's breathing quickened and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. The speed of the black metal monster chasing him wasn't fast at all. But after being chased for 7 to 8 days, Yang Gan couldn't take it anymore. He had prepared some spiritual pills to replenish his stamina and energy, but the effects were getting worse and worse. It wasn't a problem of stamina and energy consumption. His life force was also being depleted and it was hard to replenish it. My cultivation is the highest and there shouldn't be a second person on the Sky Boundary Island. Yang Gan thought. At this moment, the speed of the black metal monster was faster than those at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. Even Quan Chen and Bei Mua at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm would have been eliminated. But Yang Gan wasn't willing to give up. It hadn't even been a month since the 26th day of the trial. Before the trial, He had heard from his master that Ha-Yun Master was the one with the best results in the past 100 years, and he was the only one who had lasted more than a month. 1 month. I can only break the record if I can last more than a month. Yang Gan gritted his teeth. Although his will was strong, his life force was being depleted and he wouldn't be able to last much longer. So, at a certain moment, Yang Gan suddenly saw a figure. Who is it? Yang Gan's heart jumped. The trial had been going on for so long, and there was someone else besides him. Taking a closer look, he saw that it was a youth with an old-fashioned expression. He looked very familiar. The youth's cultivation wasn't high, yet his speed was extremely swift. A jade bottle gourd hung on his chest, and what was even stranger was that he wore a greenish-gold cicada clothes. A pair of thin wings stretched out from his back, and as they flapped swiftly, it caused a gust of wind to flow, causing his entire body to seem as if it was floating in midair, occasionally descending to the ground, occasionally flying up. Bei-moi. Yang Gan's eyes went wide. It was Bei-moi. His luck was the best out of all the disciples. From the start, he was sent to the entrance of the ancient garden. In the ancient garden of ruins, he had gained a lot. It was a great opportunity that was hard to come by. The green-gold cicada robe on Bei-moi's body was unknown, but with just a bit of true force, he could float in the air like a dragonfly. In terms of speed, Bei-moi was comparable to those at the fifth sky of the ascended realm. Senior brother Yang. Bei-moi was expressionless as he glanced at Yang Gan before running away. This scene shook Yang Gan's heart. There was actually someone else in the trial. As the king of this forest, an outsider dared to ignore its existence. As for Yang Gan, he was completely ignored. Yang Gan then fell into despair. He ran left and right as the black metal monster chased after him. On the other hand, the Yao Beast King continued to chase after the black metal monster. The black metal monster's defense was extremely strong and it wasn't heavily injured even after taking many attacks from the Yao Beast King. Raging flames burning heaven. The Beast King unleashed its ultimate move, and an earth-shattering three-colored flame shot out from its 3 heads. The flames interwove together, forming a dazzling three-colored flame that shot towards the black metal monster from the sky. Rumble. A huge crater the size of half a football field was left on the ground. It was full of bumps and hollows, and it was full of cracks. Yang Gan was a mile away but he was still slightly injured by the shockwave. Luckily, he didn't take the risk for nothing. One of the black metal monster's wings was broken and one of its legs was broken. It was only a matter of time before it was finished off by the Yao Beast King. Yang Gan didn't dare to hesitate and immediately ran out of the tall tower forest in case the Yao Beast King chased after him after killing the black metal monster. If the opponent was at the true spirit realm without any restrictions, no disciple would be able to last. For the next 2 days, Yang Gan had completely escaped from the pursuit. This risk was worth it. I managed to kill the black metal monster. Yang Gan let out a long breath as pride and excitement appeared in his eyes. What he didn't know was that he wasn't the first to use this method. If he knew that there was someone who had killed the black metal monster a few days ago and had done it even more easily than him, who knew what Yang Gan would think? Furthermore, Yang Gan didn't feel happy for a day or two as danger arrived. The 11th day of the pursuit. The 29th day of the trial. 100 feet away, a dazzling white door of light formed, and a gigantic blurry figure walked out. What? Yang Gan's body froze and he found it hard to breathe. Why is there another one? Run! Yang Gan made his decision and ran away before the black metal monster came out. The black metal monster that came out this time had the same aura as before and its initial speed had reached the 4th sky of the ascended realm. Inside the treasury of the castle. Pang pang. Pang pang. Zhao Feng circulated his lightning wind palm and continued to attack. The array in the cabinet dimmed by half. In another 2 days, this formation will be broken. Zhao Feng smiled as he looked at the egg in the cabinet. He secretly guessed that there would be some kind of rare species in the egg. Could it be a spirit beast or a rare bird from ancient legends? In the clan world, there were some experts who had obtained the hatchling or egg of a Yao beast by chance and took it as a mount or pet. Some spiritual beasts had strong battle power and could even fight on their own. Apparently, the Broken Moon clan had a golden ashen giant eagle that could carry several people, and in terms of battle power, it could kill cultivators at the 6th or 7th sky of the Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng's breathing suddenly stopped as a terrifying aura pressed down on his heart. It was as if something was staring at him. This feeling was very familiar. When outside the storage room, a bright white door of light suddenly appeared, and a huge blurry figure walked out. What? There's more! Zhao Feng was stunned. Calculating the time, it had been 10 days since the pursuit. 10 days. This was an important piece of information. In the 3rd stage of the trial, a black metal giant monster would be sent to hunt him down every 10 days. And now, it was the 3rd 10 days. Although Zhao Feng had finished off one black metal monster, the pursuit became stronger as the trial progressed. It wasn't that simple. Pang! The treasury shook slightly as the black metal monster's attack landed on the array. The black metal monster's body was the size of a 3-story building, so it couldn't enter the treasury. But a casual attack from it was enough to shatter the ice around the entrance. Just a wisp of the shockwave almost made Zhao Feng spit out blood. Once he entered the treasury, Zhao Feng would be killed instantly. Run! Zhao Feng controlled the situation with his left eye, and the instant the shockwave disappeared, he turned into a translucent shadow and jumped out of the treasury. Chiao, a faint azure light flashed in the air, which was the sign that Zhao Feng had burned his bloodline power to the max. In a short instant, Zhao Feng's explosive speed had exceeded the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm, and he instantly arrived on the roof opposite the treasury. He was finally out of danger. The pursuit is so strong. This guy's speed is comparable to those at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng took in a deep breath. Without hesitation, he did the same thing and lured the black iron behemoth towards the frigid lake. 4 hours later, the temperature of the sky boundary island dropped to a level that even those at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm couldn't endure. What's going on? The temperature dropped again. 100 miles away, Baimua's expression changed. Behind Baimua, there were 2 black metal behemoths chasing after him from different angles, making it extremely dangerous. At the same time, Zhao Feng looked back after leaving the freezing pond and murmured, "Freezing 2 black metal monsters is already my limit." The forbidden area of the freezing pond, near the blue crystal tear, was occupied by 2 black metal monsters. If he lured the black metal monsters away, he might not be able to touch the crystal tear's origin power. Furthermore, even those at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm couldn't endure the low temperature of the sky boundary island. If it worsened, Zhao Feng didn't waste a second and he quickly returned to the treasury. After finishing off the 2nd black metal monster, he still had 10 days, which was enough for him to hatch the egg. Chapter 186. Within the treasury room of the estate. By the time Zhao Feng returned, the protective array of the cabinet had repaired itself a bit more. The gray egg laid quietly in the cabinet and it didn't move at all, giving off an aura of age. Even after tens of thousands of years, there was still a faint ripple of life within the egg. Give me 5 more days. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and his eyes were as sharp as lightning, as if he wanted to see through the egg. Every single item in the collection room was no small matter. Some of the weapons were at the spiritual grade and they were worth a fortune. What kind of treasure did this egg, which had lived for tens of thousands of years, contain? All the signs pointed to the fact that this egg was not normal. Pang! Pang! Zhao Feng circulated his lightning wind palm and attacked the protective array again and again at a moderate pace. According to his calculations, he would need 5 more days to break through the array. Because of the previous delay, the protective array had recovered a lot and it would recover faster and faster if he didn't keep attacking. Of the three people left on the Sky Boundary Island, Zhao Feng was the one with the easiest time. At this moment, both Yang Gan and Bei Moi were being chased and they didn't have a chance to rest. Among them, Bei Moi was being chased by two black metal monsters and his figure was moving around the Sky Boundary Island. Even in this situation, Bei Moi's expression was calm and he didn't panic at all. A green gourd hung on Bei Moi's chest and he was wearing a golden-green robe. A pair of wings extended from his back and he was like a dragonfly as he flew through the complicated environment. In times of difficulty, Bei Moi would take out the green gourd and take a sip of the liquid. This green sky spiritual liquid is indeed miraculous. It can replenish one's life. The corners of Bei Moi's mouth curled up. His smile was filled with confidence and calmness. The emerald sky spiritual liquid was a legendary and rare spiritual liquid. No matter how serious the injury was, as long as one still had one breath left, drinking a mouthful of this spiritual liquid would instantly heal. This spiritual liquid was different from normal spiritual pills as it could replenish one's life. Every half a day, Bei Moi would drink a small mouthful of the spiritual liquid to replenish his energy. On the other hand, the person who suffered the most was Yang Gan. Zhao Feng, who was the most relaxed, killed the second black metal monster and safely dug out the treasure. At the very least, Bei Moi would be able to deal with pursuers. On the other hand, Yang Gan's true force, mental energy, and life force were all on the verge of drying up. The second black metal monster had the speed of a cultivator at the fourth sky the moment it appeared, and 2 days later, its speed was comparable to the fifth sky. Time flew by. The 13th day of the pursuit, the 31st day of the trial. It should be more than a month. Yang Gan's consciousness was almost blurry. His mental energy, stamina, and all other aspects had reached their limits. He wanted to go to the forest of tall towers and repeat the same trick, but he failed. After killing the black metal monster, the demonic beast king was also injured, and its vitality was greatly damaged. No one knew where it hid. Floating Crest Palace. On the 32nd day of the trial. Buzz! The green door of light flashed, and a tired figure appeared at the entrance of the stairs. Gone, the great elder exclaimed, leaving behind an afterimage. His real body had already arrived in front of Yang Gan, and a surge of gentle, true spirit energy entered his body. The true spirit realm had gone through 7 transformations and had reached the true spirit realm. The true force within one's body would also change, and it would have the ability to turn something rotten into something magical. It was because of this that the lifespan of those at the true spirit realm could reach 300 years. This was an unimaginable level for normal people. He's in a situation where his life force is exhausted. Granny Luyue handed over an expensive spiritual pill. Soon. Yang Gan's face regained some color and he said with difficulty, "Master, how many days did I last?" In the last few days, his consciousness was blurry and he didn't even know how he was kicked out. 32 days. The amount of time you lasted in the trial is almost the same as Haiyun Master's. First Elder said with a smile. Apart from Haiyun Master, there wasn't a second person who could last for more than a month in the trial. Hearing this, Yang Gan felt slightly regretful. He hadn't broken Haiyun Master's record. Haiyun Master lasted more than a month, but Haiyun Master lasted more than him. Even if it was just one more day, it was still better than him. That's right, Gan, what's your final result and fortune? First Elder's expression was filled with expectation. The purpose of the Floating Crest trial was to obtain more fortune. The better the result, the greater the fortune. Disciple has obtained a total of 457 trial points. Yang Gan was slightly proud as he reported this result. The clan master and elders also nodded their heads with praise. Yang Gan was indeed worthy of being the top disciple. His result had far surpassed the previous first place. In terms of fortune, Yang Gan had obtained a peak-grade mortal weapon. Apart from that, skills and items from the Heaven's Spirit Realm had surpassed the previous few. Peak-grade mortal weapon. Not bad, not bad. Our clan's strength has increased again. In the last 10 trials, apart from Brother Ha-yun, no one else has obtained a peak-grade mortal weapon. The elders were pleasantly surprised by this. In the Broken Moon clan, only elders would have peak-grade mortal weapons and their power was only below spiritual-grade weapons. Yonggan couldn't control the peak-grade mortal weapon, so he gave it to the clan and received some compensation. Gan's performance is great. This result is only below Brother Ha-yun's in the last 100 years. Elder Shui said with a smile. Yonggan felt slightly disappointed in his heart. The number of days he had lasted was only below Ha-yun Master's and he wasn't able to break the record. I remember that Brother Bei is still in the trial, Yonggan said uncertainly. He felt slightly helpless when he mentioned Bei Moi. This super genius's luck in the trial was extraordinarily good. It was as if he was blessed with great luck. In the third trial, Yonggan was teleported to a group of beasts and was extremely unlucky. On the other hand, Bei Moi was teleported to the entrance of the ancient ruins and his cultivation rose dramatically as well as several treasures. As for Bei Moi, he was able to survive the pursuit of 2 black metal monsters. Even Zhao Feng wouldn't be so lucky to be teleported to a place like this. The Floating Crest trial wasn't just about strength, it was also about character and luck. In front of fortune, luck was even more important than strength. Furthermore, Bei Moi was a super genius with both luck and strength. Oh? How's Bei Moi doing? Ha-yun Master asked with interest and expectation. Yonggan didn't hide anything and told them about Bei Moi's situation. After hearing this, the 5 at the True Spirit Realm looked at each other. They didn't think that Bei Moi would be so strong and be able to deal with 2 black metal monsters at the same time. Bei Moi probably has great luck or else he wouldn't have such fortune. Maybe this luck will push our Broken Moon clan to rise. The Broken Moon clan master's eyebrows were filled with joy and longing. From the current situation, Bei Moi's result would definitely surpass Ha-yun Master's and break the 100-year record. Congratulations, Brother Ha-yun. You've taken in a genius with great luck and talent. Elder Shui and company congratulated Ha-yun Master. In the history of the continent, which one of the legendary figures didn't have great luck? There was even a saying in the world of clans that one didn't have great talent, but one couldn't have no luck. The Scarlet Moon Patriarch had average talent, but he had great luck and had received one of the 4 great inheritances, the Scarlet Moon Inheritance. Compared to the 4 great inheritances, the Floating Crest trial wasn't even worth mentioning. It was like comparing a grain of rice to the moon. From this, one could see the importance of luck. Without a doubt, Bei Moi had this tendency. Not only did he have great luck, his talent was also extraordinary. Wait! Apart from Bei Moi, there seems to be another person in the trial. Ha-yun Master suddenly said. First Elder's eyebrows furrowed as he started to think. There was another person. The elders paused and thought about it. Excluding the disciples that had been eliminated and Bei Moi, there really was another person. It's that brat, Elder Shui's eyebrows furrowed. There's another person. Yonggan's heart shook and his expression was slightly ugly. Elder said that apart from Bei Moi, there's another person that hasn't been eliminated. Hearing this news, waves crashed in his heart. Could it be that apart from Bei Moi, there was another person that surpassed him? Bei Moi was a super genius and had great luck. He could only be helpless if he lost. Gan'er, did you find any traces of Zhao Feng in the third trial? First Elder asked solemnly. He had a bad feeling in his heart, Brother Zhao. Yonggan paused, he didn't expect that person to be Zhao Feng. He said deeply, disciple hasn't found any traces of him since entering the third trial. Hearing this, First Elder's expression changed slightly. Could it be? Elder Shui's eyes were filled with schadenfreude and Ha-yun Master had a mocking smile on his face. Granny Lu Yue and the others all had thoughtful expressions. In the Floating Crest trial, apart from passing and being eliminated, there was a third situation and that was death. True death. Although the Floating Crest trial was a righteous trial, it couldn't guarantee the safety of the participants. In the previous Floating Crest trial, there weren't many deaths, but it was normal. Not long later, the first elder called over Quan Chen, Lin Fan, Ran Xiaoyuan and the others. "I've only seen Brother Zhao before I was chased," Lin Fan answered. Ran Xiaoyuan and Lu Yuer's answers were the same. It was as if Zhao Feng had disappeared ever since the pursuit began. There was no sign of him at all. Everyone's answers were the same. Adding on the fact that even Yang Gan couldn't find any traces of Zhao Feng, the truth seemed to have been revealed. First elder took a deep breath and closed his eyes, not saying another word. Most of the people present could only mourn for Zhao Feng. Ran Xiaoyuan's eyes were red and she couldn't bear to look at him. Only Lin Fan had a weird expression. Thinking about Zhao Feng's calm and collected attitude, he felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Floating Crest Trial. The 33rd day. Palace, Treasury Room. Crack. The extremely dim white glow instantly shattered. The protective array of the cabinet was finally broken. Excitement appeared on Zhao Feng's face, and he instantly grabbed the mysterious gray egg with a hint of tiredness. Chapter 187. The hatched egg was about the size of a fist, gray and unremarkable. The markings on its surface were ancient and strange, seemingly simple, but it seemed to contain some sort of law. Zhao Feng touched the gray egg in his hand, and felt that it was a lifeless fossil. But when he calmed down and opened his left eye, it was as though he was holding a beating heart. After studying it for a while, Zhao Feng had no idea. He first injected some true power, but the gray egg did not have any reaction. Zhao Feng even realized that the gray egg's shell had a strong immunity against true power. He suddenly thought of some ancient records, about using blood as a medium to form a blood pact with a strange life form. Just that, Zhao Feng did not know how to use the legendary blood pact. He sighed, bit his index finger, and a few drops of blood landed on the hatched egg. There was still no reaction from the hatched egg, but Zhao Feng felt that his blood had caused the markings on the surface of the egg to become brighter. His left eye constricted, magnifying his vision 100 times. Zhao Feng caught a faint reaction from the surface of the egg. The blood was moving. Is my blood so worthless? Zhao Feng could clearly see that only 1,000th of the essence of the blood was absorbed by the surface of the egg. Finally, he had a flash of inspiration, and decided to try using his blood meridians. According to the Blood Corpse Division Protector, Zhao Feng's body had a thin ancient blood meridian inheritance, and this power caused the remnants of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion to be fearful and moved. But this time, Zhao Feng carefully activated his blood meridians, only to see a thread of green blood, like a thin thread, entering the gray egg. Directly entering, unobstructed. Zhao Feng was surprised. But, before he could be truly happy, the next change caused his expression to change. Woo! The green blood in his body was quickly drained, as though it had entered a bottomless pit. The gray egg was like a newborn baby, instinctively absorbing nutrients. In a short 2 breaths, the small amount of blood meridians in Zhao Feng's body had been drained by more than half. The power of his bloodline was the essence of Zhao Feng's left eye. It was even more valuable than essence blood. After absorbing so much bloodline power, Zhao Feng felt a sense of weakness and emptiness. Stop! Stop! Zhao Feng activated his left eye and the azure abyss in the pitch-black space spun rapidly. After all, the bloodline power came from his left eye and was controlled by Zhao Feng. Under his powerful control, the connection between the egg and the egg was cut off. Who? Zhao Feng sat on the ground powerlessly. His face was slightly pale, and his spirit was somewhat dispirited. Although he cut off the connection in time, most of his bloodline power was still sucked into the gray egg. Traces of blood flowed on the surface of the gray egg, giving it a bright luster. Thump! Thump! Zhao Feng heard a faint heartbeat coming from the depths of the egg. From nothingness to existence, from weak to strong, it seemed that a new life was being born. After waiting for a long time, there was no movement from the gray egg. However, the aura of life was becoming stronger. Zhao Feng sat down cross-legged and drank a large mouthful of low-grade spiritual wine. He then swallowed a few heaven and earth resources. Soon, a wave of heat exploded within his body. To recover his bloodline power, Zhao Feng had spent a large amount of blood. There's still 5 more days. The pursuit will increase. Zhao Feng's heart felt pressured. According to the rules, the pursuit would increase by 1 level every 10 days. Zhao Feng had used 5 days to obtain the egg. There were only 5 days left to prepare. However, the recovery speed of his bloodline power was slower than Zhao Feng had imagined. Although he had used a pile of heaven and earth resources and the true force in his body had increased, the recovery speed of his bloodline power was extremely slow. This caused Zhao Feng's cultivation to unknowingly rise to the peak of the 3rd sky. While recovering, Zhao Feng didn't pay attention to the egg next to him. The blood patterns on the surface of the gray eggshell gradually faded, revealing a tiny crack that was hard to see with the naked eye. Under normal circumstances, these abnormalities would not escape Zhao Feng's eyes. However, he was focused on recovering his bloodline power and did not put his mind on the egg. 3 days passed in a flash. Zhao Feng's mind, energy, and spirit had climbed to the peak. His bloodline power had mostly recovered. There are 2 more days before the new pursuit begins. Zhao Feng put the egg into his storage bracelet and did not notice the tiny cracks on the surface of the gray egg. The most important thing now was for Zhao Feng to prepare for the next round of pursuit. 4 hours later, Zhao Feng came to the source of the Dragon Snake Glacier, the cold pond. Near the cold pond, cold air covered the sky and earth. The wind in the air was like a cold blade that cut on the body. The cold was bone-chilling. This time, Zhao Feng came to inspect the situation of the cold pond and see if he could use the same trick again. After a while, Zhao Feng shook his head. It was the same as last time. Firstly, the area where the mysterious crystal tear was located was occupied by the first 2 black metal monsters. Secondly, if he used the crystal tear again, the temperature of the sky boundary island would worsen and even those at the 4th or 5th sky of the ascended realm would find it hard to resist. The same method couldn't be used again. I need to find a new method. Zhao Feng murmured. He soon thought of the Yao Beast King in the tall tower forest. The Yao Beast King at the True Spirit Realm should be able to fight against the black metal monsters, and with my ice arrows, I should be able to kill them, but it'll be very dangerous. Zhao Feng entered the tall tower forest. However, after searching for several hours, Zhao Feng still did not see the Yao Beast King. Somewhere in the forest, Zhao Feng saw a large hole in the ground. It was obvious that there had been a huge battle. This method has already been used by someone, and it's most likely Brother Yang. Being at the True Spirit Realm, the Yao Beast King has high intelligence and it'll be hard to use the same method a second time. Zhao Feng once again rejected this idea. He decisively left the tall tower forest and arrived near a large vine ocean. This vine ocean was also a forbidden area in the sky boundary island. Last time, Zhao Feng had almost lost his life just by entering the edge of it. If I'm not wrong, there's a vine king in the middle of the vine ocean. Its strength is unknown and it seems to have merged with the aura of the entire vine ocean. Zhao Feng stood far away and after observing for a long time, he came to a conclusion. If his guess was correct, the entire vine ocean was part of the Vine King, which meant that this area was one of the most terrifying existences in the sky boundary island. The reason why it was was because Zhao Feng had seen even more terrifying existences before. When he had just explored the sky boundary island, Zhao Feng had found a hill. That huge hill was essentially a huge life form that was in deep slumber all year round. It was the hill troll. If the mountain monster woke up, Zhao Feng couldn't estimate its strength, but from its size and aura, it should be able to kill someone at the True Spirit Realm like squashing an ant. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Zhao Feng wouldn't provoke the unknown mountain monster. Therefore, he chose the Vine Ocean. He had personally experienced this place before and was more familiar with it. For the next day or so, Zhao Feng sat near the vine ocean and used his left eye to observe the surroundings. At this point in time, there were only two people left on the sky boundary island, Zhao Feng and Beimoi. Zhao Feng's left eye saw Beimoi a few times. Beimoi didn't see Zhao Feng as he ran. This guy's luck is too good. What kind of treasure robe is he wearing and that green gourd? Zhao Feng clicked his tongue in his heart. Beimoi was being chased by two black metal monsters at the same time and he was still able to last until now. Time passed by quickly. The third round of pursuit was about to arrive. Both Zhao Feng and Beimoi were mentally prepared. On the 38th day of the trial. Wang! Wang! White doors of light appeared on Zhao Feng's left and right. Their blurry bodies radiated a terrifying pressure that made the blood of the nearby beings freeze and their hearts shake. What? There's more than one this time. Zhao Feng felt two terrifying auras. In the next instant, two giant black metal monsters appeared at the same time 100 feet to the left and right. The instant they appeared, the speed of the two black metal monsters was close to the fifth sky of the ascended realm. Run! Zhao Feng circulated his bloodline power and his Yin shadow cloak turned into a dark shadow that left a faint azure line in the air as he flew towards the vine ocean. Zhao Feng had simulated the strategy hundreds of thousands of times in his mind to deal with all kinds of variables. The only difference was that Zhao Feng had to deal with two black metal monsters this time. So the two black metal monsters flapped their wings and pounced at Zhao Feng from the left and right. Zhao Feng's azure hair blew in the wind as his left eye scanned the vine ocean below. His figure was like a fish swimming through the cracks and he would occasionally use his bloodline power to use the burning wind stance to destroy a portion of the vines and open up a path. Zhao Feng had experienced this once when he was exploring the sky boundary island and he found that these vines had a certain resistance towards the lightning element of the lightning wind palm. However, the burning wind stance could counter these vines. Zhao Feng pushed his illusion fish skill to the maximum and he used his left eye to control the environment. Facing the sea of vines, it was a daunting experience. However, the black metal monsters chasing after him weren't as agile and fast as Zhao Feng. The two black metal monsters were soon entangled by countless vines. However, as experts at the true spirit realm, their powerful attacks instantly shattered hundreds and thousands of vines. Zhao Feng didn't expect the normal vines to be able to deal with the black metal monsters at the true spirit realm. His goal was to lure the black metal monsters to the center. The plan went smoothly. The black metal monsters fell into the center of the vine ocean. So. Zhao Feng took out the Luoho bow and shot out 3 to 4 blue ice arrows that exploded around the two black metal monsters. The ice arrows didn't harm the black metal monsters at all, but they froze and slowed down at the critical moment. Bang! Paw! Pa! Li Feng's low roar came from the center of the vine ocean as dozens of dark green vines as thick as a bucket struck the air like lightning. Woo! Zhao Feng felt like he was suffocating. The enormous vine ocean was like a living being. Each of the dozens of vines had the power of someone at the true spirit realm. Luckily, he was prepared and retreated. In reality, the Vine King's attacks were only aimed at the black metal monsters that posed a threat. When Zhao Feng retreated half a mile, the two black metal monsters disappeared into the depths of the vine ocean. Zhao Feng let out a long breath. However, before he could calm down, he felt a movement on his wrist, as if something was entangling him. What is it? Zhao Feng jumped up in fright as cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Looking closely, the source of the movement came from the interspatial bracelet on his wrist. There seemed to be something moving inside. Chapter 188. Puzzled, Zhao Feng's attention was attracted by the storage bracelet. Inside the storage bracelet was a space about 1 cubic meter in size. It was filled with some spoils of war, all of which were Zhao Feng's gains from the trials. The strange movement came from this item space. When his mind entered it, Zhao Feng found that the pile of treasures was shaking slightly. One of the spirit flowers and fruits was half-eaten. The culprit was a gray cat. It was furry and seemed to be just born. It was only the size of a palm and its black gem-like eyes rolled around. The gluttonous cat seemed to sense Zhao Feng's existence and its movements of eating the treasures froze. Zhao Feng stilled at first and then found that the pile of treasures had been reduced by half. Where did this thieving cat come from? It ate half of my treasures. Zhao Feng was furious. These rare spirit materials were all gathered from the trials. Now that half of them were gone, even the usually calm and indifferent Zhao Feng couldn't help but be angry. Gulp. Gulp. The little gray cat had a look of disdain. It picked up the wine gourd that was even bigger than itself and drank with great enjoyment. Hey! This is my spirit wine! Zhao Feng exclaimed, and with a thought, he took out the gourd of wine. But the little gray cat didn't let go of the wine gourd and came out of the storage space with it. Meow meow! The little gray cat hugged the wine gourd and sucked fiercely with an intoxicated expression. This little thieving cat, where did it come from, could it be? Zhao Feng was first shocked and then understood the little gray cat's origins. In a corner of the storage space, the originally gray egg only had some broken eggshell left. Needless to say, this little thieving cat was a product of the egg. But Zhao Feng had never heard of a mammal like a cat being hatched from an egg. What was even more unbelievable was that this little thieving cat had extraordinary intelligence when it was born. Its human-like expression and movements were completely like an old fox. Not only that, the little thieving cat was completely fine after eating so many rare materials at once. The only difference was that its belly was a bit bigger. Gulp. Gulp. While Zhao Feng was hesitating, the little thieving cat had finished all the remaining wine in the gourd. What kind of freak is this? Zhao Feng was speechless. Even cultivators at the seventh sky of the ascended realm would explode from the terrifying energy of heaven and earth after eating so many resources and drinking half a flask of low-tier spiritual wine. But the little thieving cat was completely fine. It burped and looked at Zhao Feng with a longing gaze. Humph! Little thieving cat, after eating so many of my precious ingredients, shouldn't you give me an explanation? Zhao Feng reached out to pull the cat's ear, planning to teach it a lesson. Meow, meow. The little thieving cat nimbly dodged Zhao Feng's attack. Ah! Zhao Feng's expression changed. Although it was just a casual grab, at such a close distance, even cultivators at the fourth sky of the ascended realm would find it hard to dodge. Not only did the little thieving cat dodge it easily, it even had a mocking smile on its face. He was being mocked by a little thieving cat. Zhao Feng was speechless and became even more curious about the little thieving cat's background. He had never heard of a pet like this that had such high intelligence the moment it was born and ate treasures like they were snacks. Sang! The little thieving cat lightly jumped onto Zhao Feng's arm and its paw reached towards his interspatial bracelet. Zhao Feng was puzzled at first, but he soon understood. Shwa! The little thieving cat took out a spiritual fruit from the interspatial bracelet and started to eat it. This works? Zhao Feng was speechless. This little thieving cat could even steal things from his interspatial bracelet? Just as he was about to make a move, the little thieving cat flipped in the air and landed several yards away. While eating the spiritual fruit, its mouth was full of disdain and disdain. You ate my things and you're still looking down on me? Zhao Feng's heart was filled with anger. However, he didn't act rashly and he soon calmed down. In terms of agility, even he wasn't confident in dealing with the little thieving cat. If he acted rashly and it ran away, it wouldn't be worth it. One had to know that there wasn't a blood contract between Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat, so there was no relationship between the two. Furthermore, from the little thieving cat's expression and actions, it didn't seem to have any respect for Zhao Feng, its master, who had awakened it. After eating the spiritual fruit, the little thieving cat bared its teeth at Zhao Feng with 70% disdain and 30% disdain. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paw as if to say goodbye before turning around and running. Want to run? Zhao Feng snickered coldly. The little thieving cat wanted to leave after eating so much of his stuff. He had wasted more than 10 days in the trial for this egg. How could he let the little thieving cat leave just like that? Sang! Sang! The little thieving cat was extremely agile and it ran in front, occasionally turning its head and smiling with disdain. Zhao Feng seemed to be able to understand its words. You want to be my master? The little thieving cat's intelligence wasn't just high, it actually knew Zhao Feng's intentions. If that was the case, then he couldn't let it run. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and the eye patch slowly fell down. His azure eye flashed with a sharp light and a soul-shaking mental energy spread out. In terms of speed, Zhao Feng was faster than the little thieving cat. However, in terms of agility, the little thieving cat was only the size of a palm while Zhao Feng was like a giant. He knew that the black metal monsters would only lock onto the target with the floating crest token and wouldn't attack randomly. Meow meow. The little thieving cat on his shoulder put its paws on its waist and ignored the black metal monsters. Zhao Feng was even more surprised. The black metal monsters were at the true spirit realm, but the little thieving cat was as calm as him. Brother Zhao, why aren't you being chased? Baimua breathed heavily and looked at the human and cat in front of him in confusion. Zhao Feng hesitated. Should he tell Baimua the method? Before he could say anything. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paws and pointed at the center of the vines. You little thieving cat, living off me while helping an outsider. Black lines appeared on Zhao Feng's forehead as he grabbed the little thieving cat's ear. Hee hee, thank you, Brother Zhao. This cat is very cute. Baimua smiled and charged towards the center of the vines. With his intelligence, it wasn't hard for him to guess what Zhao Feng was going to do. Who so? So the 4 black metal monsters chased after Baimua. Zhao Feng was just about to teach the little black cat a lesson when the situation suddenly changed. Woo! In the sea of vines, a low and frightening roar suddenly came. That terrifying aura was even more tyrannical than the Monster King in the Forest of Tall Towers. Ah! Baimua screamed as he was pulled down by a huge force. His body staggered and fell into the vines. In the blink of an eye, Baimua was engulfed by countless vines. This scene caused Zhao Feng's heart to tremble. The entire vines are part of the Vine King. It was just that it didn't bother to attack before and only attacked based on instinct. But why did it attack Baimua? Zhao Feng looked over and found that one of the vines had taken the green gourd from Baimua's chest and brought it to the center of the vines. So that's why. The Vine King had its eyes on the green gourd in Baimua's chest. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paws and revealed a cunning smile. Fuck. This little thieving cat had tricked Baimua. Zhao Feng's expression was very interesting as he stared at the little thieving cat weirdly. At the same time, in the area of the vines, this little thieving cat, a trace of hatred appeared on Baimua's expressionless face. Countless vines wrapped around Baimua and sucked his essence blood. When the floating crest token in his body released a transparent azure light that covered him. In the next instant, Baimua disappeared. He never would have thought that he would be kicked out like this. It was embarrassing to be tricked by a little cat. Meow meow. Before disappearing, Baimua heard the little thieving cat's mocking voice. Chapter 189. Floating Crest Palace. The 38th day of the trial. When an azure light flashed at the entrance and a youth with an old face appeared. The youth's expression was bad, but it was unknown if it was because his body was weak or because he was in a bad mood. Mwah! Brother Bei. Hai Yun Master, Quan Shen, and the others all exclaimed with joy. Everyone, including the elders at the true spirit realm, looked towards Baimois. At this moment, Baimois was like the prodigy of the heavens as he arrived in front of the elders. Lasting 38 days in the trial. This result has already surpassed Brother Hai Yun Master's record. Indeed, a great disciple comes from a great master. Granny Luyue and Elder Shui couldn't help but sigh. In the past 100 years, the Broken Moon clan had produced the most talented Hai Yun Master. His disciple Baimois' talent was even better, and he had broken Hai Yun Master's record in the Floating Crest trial. In the later stages of the Floating Crest trial, every extra day is a breakthrough, and every step is extremely difficult. A smile appeared on the Broken Moon clan master's face as she felt joy from the bottom of her heart. Although Baimois wasn't her disciple, it was still great that such a genius had appeared in the clan. However, under everyone's gaze, there was no joy on Baimois' face. On the contrary, his expression was extremely ugly. But no one noticed that Baimois' expression was still the same. What's your result? Hai Yun Master's question raised everyone's curiosity. Baimois was without a doubt the first in this trial, and he had even beaten Yang Gan, who was ranked second amongst the core disciples. 928, Baimois was expressionless. 928. As soon as he said this, the crowd went into an uproar. Even Hai Yun Master was slightly surprised. How could there be such a high result? Baimois' score had almost broken 1,000, which was shocking. Back then, Brother Hai Yun Master lasted 34 days and his result wasn't even 600. The elders looked at each other in dismay. Not only had Baimois lasted longer, his result was also terrifying. This result should have broken the 1,000-year record of the Floating Crest Palace. First elder's expression changed. Broke the 1,000-year record. Everyone looked in disbelief at the prodigy who had created this miracle. He was too strong. Not only did he surpass Hai Yun Master, he had also broken the 1,000-year record. The people around them witnessed the miracle with their own eyes and felt their blood boiling. Not long after, Baimois' spoils of war were displayed, and they were several times better than Yang Gan's. He had obtained 2 mortal-level peak-tier cultivation techniques. He had obtained 3 mortal-ranked supreme-grade divine weapons. There were more than 100 heavenly treasures, earthly treasures, and unique treasures. Among them, there were dozens that were as valuable as divine weapons. What was even more exciting was that Baimois had also obtained a spiritual-grade cultivation technique. Spirit-level cultivation technique. If this was placed in the Broken Moon clan, it would be the ultimate skill of the clan. Even an elder might not be able to successfully learn it. One must know that the number of spirit-tier cultivation techniques on the continent was extremely small, and they were almost extinct. The addition of a spirit-level cultivation technique would imperceptibly increase the strength of the sect. The surrounding people were excited, pleasantly surprised, and shocked. However, as the main character, Baimois didn't feel the slightest bit of joy or pride. Instead, his expression became more and more awkward. Not only did you get first place in the trial, you even broke your master's record, becoming the number 1 in 1,000 years. Your master and the sect are both proud of you. Hai Yun Elder praised with a smile. It was an honor in itself to be the master of such a miraculous genius. Master. Baimois finally opened his mouth and his voice contained a hint of guilt. What's wrong? Martial nephew Mo, if you have any difficulties or requests, feel free to tell me. The elders and clan masters all looked towards Baimois in confusion. Baimois' expression was slightly abnormal. Just like master, clan master and elders have said, I may have broken the 1,000-year record, but I'm not the one who got first this time. Baimois took a deep breath with a bitter expression. What? What did this mean? The crowd was confused and had no idea what was going on. Baimois had clearly broken the 1,000-year record, how could he not be first this time? First elder fell into deep thought. Suddenly, he looked towards the entrance of the Floating Crest Palace and his expression changed. Wait. The Floating Crest trial hasn't ended yet. The clan master and the elders all looked towards the Floating Crest Palace. As expected, the Floating Crest Palace hadn't closed and the trial was still ongoing. According to past experience, the Floating Crest Palace would close after the trial ended. What did this mean? Everyone fell into deep thought. Thinking back to Baimoi's expression and actions, the truth started to surface. However, most of them didn't dare to believe the truth that was about to surface. There was still one more person. A person that had been ignored once again became the focus of the elders. Only Brother Zhao is left. Could it be? Impossible. Yang Gan, Quan Chen and the other disciples didn't dare to believe it. Especially Yang Gan, he couldn't accept this reality. Zhao Feng was his brother Zhao, how could he not know the latter's strength? How could a low-tier spiritual body disciple, one of the lowest-ranked disciples, surpass the one who had been first for 1,000 years? The crowd went into chaos. No one could believe this result. Silence. First Elder's low and authoritative voice caused the crowd to fall into silence. The elders looked at each other in dismay. Amongst them, Elder Shui and Haiyun clan's expressions changed. What's going on? Haiyun clan master asked in a low voice. The elders could vaguely sense that the development of the situation had far exceeded their expectations and control. It was as if from the start of the trial, there had been an invisible force that had driven the entire situation of the trial. Accidents after accidents, all sorts of bizarre events, all indicated that this trial was unusual. All sorts of unusual events were concentrated in this trial. First, it was the first trial where Lu Hu and company were quickly eliminated. Then, it was the second trial where no one was injured or killed. Then came the third stage. Gratifying results and unexpected twists and turns of events. But this time, Baimoi, who had broken the 1,000-year record, had created a miracle and changed the situation once again. Baimoi still wasn't first. All in all, this trial was just too weird. At this moment, everyone's gazes landed on Baimoi. He was probably the only person present that knew the truth. Before I was eliminated, I saw Brother Zhao. Baimoi finally spoke. Thinking about how he was tricked by the little thieving cat and was eliminated, he couldn't release the anger in his heart. Brother Zhao. Zhao Feng. Although everyone was prepared, they still took in a deep breath and their expressions changed dramatically. How could it be him? Yang Gan, Quan Chen and company were dazed and couldn't accept this. If it was a super genius like Baimoi, they could accept it. At most, they would feel regret and helplessness. But if it was Zhao Feng, they couldn't accept it at all. Martial nephew Baimoi, tell me what happened. The Broken Moon clan master's eyes twinkled. Baimoi started to recount what happened. I was originally able to last a day or two, but I didn't think that I would meet Brother Zhao at this time. The weird thing was that he wasn't chased by the black metal monsters. Speaking up to here, Baimoi's eyebrows furrowed. He wasn't chased by the black metal monsters. How was this possible? The disciples that had participated in the trial all shook their heads in shock. I also felt it was weird and asked Brother Zhao. In the end, he and that sly cat tricked me into the Sea of Vines. With just a thought from the Vine King, I was almost trapped and killed. I even lost the precious Emerald Sky Spirit liquid. Speaking up to here, Baimoi's voice became hoarse and his hands trembled. His eyes were filled with humiliation and hatred as he thought in his heart, Zhao Feng, you've tricked me so badly. There's no room for reconciliation between us. Cunning cat. Haiyun master caught the key point. It seems to be the spiritual pet that Brother Zhao got in the trial. This cat is extremely cunning, otherwise, my results would have been even better. Baimoi's teeth itched as he thought about how the little thieving cat had tricked him. He couldn't say that he was tricked by the cat, so he decided to put the blame on Zhao Feng. This Zhao Feng is too despicable. First, he kicked Yuan Hao and Lu Hu out of the game, then he harmed martial nephew Quan Chen, and now even martial nephew Beimoi has been conned by him. Elder Shui was extremely angry. Hearing this, the other disciples, with Quan Chen as the leader, all revealed expressions of hatred and started to condemn Zhao Feng. Thinking about it, from the start of the trial until now, there were a total of 4 people that had been eliminated because of Zhao Feng, which was close to half of the total number of people. First was Sun Yuanhao and Lu Hu, who were kicked into the abyss by Zhao Feng. Next was Quan Chen, who was sealed in ice by Zhao Feng and eliminated. Finally, Beimoi, who had broken the 1,000-year record, was also tricked. I'm not the only one. Beimoi saw that everyone was condemning Zhao Feng with righteous indignation and thought, so I'm not the only victim. In this way, he felt a little better. Granny Luyue furrowed her eyebrows. My Broken Moon clan is a righteous clan, and yet we have such a despicable disciple. That's right, Zhao Feng is an evil person. Even the spiritual pet he subdued is so cunning and insidious. The so-called birds of a feather flock together is nothing more than this. Hai Yun Master said. However, his heart wasn't calm. Su Ran, where did your luck come from? How did you find 2 peerless disciples? Clan Master, First Elder. This brat must be punished severely. Elder Shui said righteously. The Grand Elder and the Sect Master looked at each other and exchanged glances. This matter might not be so simple. Let's wait for Zhao Feng to come out. First Elder's voice was calm. Even if the other elders had objections, they could only swallow it. Elders, don't be angry. No matter what, Zhao Feng can be considered a genius for being able to do this. How can normal people compare to him? Our focus isn't on how to punish him, but how to help him change for the clan. The Broken Moon clan master's eyebrows furrowed as she felt a headache coming on. She sighed and sent a message to the elders. As a female sect master, she was more or less kind. Furthermore, she was having a headache. As a sect master for so many years, she had never seen such a bizarre trial. It could be said to be a miracle. The clan master's words are reasonable, but we'll have to wait for that brat to come out first. Granny Liuyue's expression eased up. Even those at the true spirit realm wouldn't be able to enter the floating crest palace. The elders couldn't do anything, so they could only wait. First Elder and the Broken Moon clan master were looking forward to the most twisted trial in history. What kind of result would the most despicable disciple achieve? You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.